Koufax and Mickey Mantle. Mickey, I'll let you think of something first. Sandy, you were right. You said Seaver would pitch a gem, and he did.
Well, Jim, he just, I thought, looked great all through the ball game. He started off a little slower than he finished. From about the fourth inning on, he had great stuff and great control. I think he got a little tired in the ninth, but all in all, I think it was just a great ball game.
3-1, Mickey. You're sitting there with Baltimore and Buford, as I recall.
Well, I'm not laughing anymore. I don't know about the Orioles, but I'm getting a little mad. I think that everything that could happen has happened for the Mets. They've just done great, and I don't even know what to look for when I go back out there anymore.
Well, everybody is talking about, believe it or not the great catches of Swoboda and Jones or the hitting, but rather of the final play when Martin bunted the ball, Rickard came over, picked it up, and threw. Now, according to this morning's papers, we didn't hear it yesterday at the ballpark, some are saying that J.C. Martin was out of the baseline and should have been declared out. Do you think so, Sandy?
Well, first of all, I got to say Martin made a fine bunt. I think you can see here that he is inside in fair territory as he's going down the first baseline. There's that double white line about 45 feet from first base. It runs halfway down. The base runner is supposed to be in that. If he's not, the umpire can declare him out. I just didn't see it yesterday. I don't know if anybody saw it yesterday. I just know that I'd hate to be the umpire that had to make that decision yesterday at Shea.
Mickey, did it ever occur to you that he was out of the baseline?
I wasn't watching the runner quite so much. The left-handed pitcher is the one that come in and fielded the ball. And really, Ellie Hendricks, the catcher, is a right-handed player. He's running toward first base and toward the mound. He wouldn't have had to throw the ball quite so close to the base runner. But in a World Series like this, you know, and you got the winning run on third base anyway, you don't really have enough time to get together that soon.
Well, the controversial and amazing World Series continues, and we'll discuss more of it in a moment as we'll return with more of World Series Report.
This is Gatorade, the greatest thirst quencher ever made.
Says who?
Says the New York Yankees, the Minnesota Twins, the Cincinnati Reds, the Detroit Tigers, the Chicago White Sox, the Oakland Athletics. Fact is, Gatorade has become the official thirst quencher of baseball. And, oh yes, the Main Street Hawks say it tastes so good it makes you glad you get thirsty. Gatorade, the big thirst quencher.
Mickey, I know you've been in a lot of World Series. You played a lot of outfield in the World Series, but gee whiz, they've only talked about Gianfrido and Amoros before this series. Then they began to talk about Tommy Agee's 2 great catches of 2 days ago. But there was a great catch by Swoboda yesterday, and there was one earlier by Cleon Jones.
Well, it just seems like every time that one of the Mets run and dives, the ball flies into his glove somewhere. I've never seen plays like this. I played in 13 World Series myself and watched a lot of them. I've never seen plays like these.
This is Cleon Jones on the ball hit by Davy Johnson. Is that your comment?
They talk about the Mets pitching, and I don't think there's any such thing as good pitching without good defense. And this is just what the Mets have had. Every time they've had a chance to run and stick out a glove somewhere, when the guy got up, there was a ball in it.
I remember one time when Casey was our manager. We was playing. I don't remember the team was playing, but I remember a comment he made after the game said that the outfielders were just running around sticking their gloves out. That's what it looks like.
Well, Clendenin's home run was the only run of the game until the 9th, Sandy, and that's where Seaver had a slight letdown.
Jim, I thought he got tired a little bit. When he did get tired, I think he stopped pitching and started to throw the ball. He had Frank Robinson at the plate, and he looked like he tried to sneak a fastball by on the inside corner to Frank and tried to throw it by him in there. And it's a good pitch to Frank. I think that's where you have to pitch him, but this one he just maybe didn't quite have enough on. Frank hit the line drive into left field, and I think possibly he still had a little problem with his foot, or his instep, because both Mickey and I thought Frank would probably try for second. When he didn't, Boog singled into right field, and Frank went around to third and set the stage for Swoboda's great catch.
With 2 out, Mickey, this is the play of the game, maybe of the series.
Yeah, Brooks Robinson hits the ball into right center. This is the best play I've ever seen in my life, as far as I'm concerned. It saved this game for him, and it was one of those plays where he didn't catch the ball and then dive. He had to dive the length of his body or a little farther to catch the ball, and he catches it in the air. as he's diving. Sandy and I didn't think that he could have, that's the only spot in that play where he could have caught that ball. If he tried to run back and cut it off on a first bounce or something, we don't think he could have caught it. It would have went all the way to the wall, and Boog Powell would have scored.
Well, now we go to the 10th inning, and here's another controversial play. Again, an outfielder, Mickey.
Well, this is my man Buford. He's had a bad leg himself, and he was playing kind of deep there, but I'm almost sure the reason that he didn't catch that ball was because he lost it in the sun.
This is what you talk about, the amazing Mets. Here a fellow looks up to the heavens and loses the ball. Somebody up there likes him.
I think that somebody up there really likes him. I'd read somewhere about I don't know very much about astrology. I don't believe, or I didn't believe in it before. I'm starting to believe in it now. I think that somebody up there is taking care of him.
Well, Gowdy goes down to second. They put Gasper in to run for him. With nobody out, they walk Al Weiss, and then they send up J.C. Martin to bat for Tom Seaver. And with none out, Sandy, everybody knew that Martin was going to bunt.
Definitely. I think Gil Hodges told him to bunt down to that side because it's a tough play for the left-hand pitcher to make. If he had bunted to third, it would have been an easier play for a left-hand pitcher. And as it turned out, it was the ball game. And this is not what was described as the dead Mets of the first day of the series.
Sandy, you said something earlier discussing this play. As a left-hander, on the mound, in the World Series, would you have made the play that Rickard made?
I'll be honest, as bad a fielder as I was, at any time, it didn't have to make any difference if it was the World Series or not. I would have let the catcher coming out try and make the play. And if I had to make it in that situation, I might have intentionally grounded it and not thrown it.
In other words, let the bases be loaded with none out and take your chances with the play at the plate.
Well, I just was not that good a fielder. I could catch the ball all right, but I had trouble throwing to bases.
Well, we've got to look ahead today. It could be the final day, and we will in a moment as we'll return with more of World Series Report. Shea Stadium will go positively insane today if Jerry Koosman does do it, Sandy, and he's going against Dave McNally. The last time this hookup came, you said that you had to believe, off the basis of that league championship game we saw McNally pitch, it's one of the strongest pitching jobs that you've seen in 2 or 3 years. He's got to have it today.
Well, I think McNally is in a lot of ways in the same situation that Tom Seaver was yesterday. I think probably he came into the second game having too much rest. He's the kind of pitcher that has to have good control to win. Koosman, on the other hand, with great stuff like Jerry has, he can be just a little less on top of his control and pitch a great game, and he did in the second game. But I'd have to say today that I'm looking for McNally to pitch a great game.
Are these pitchers similar other than being left-handers?
Well, they each throw the same pitches, but I don't think you could say that they're similar. With Jerry Koosman, his best pitch is probably his fastball. With McNally, I think his best pitch is his curve and his slider. He's got a good fastball, but it wouldn't be that good without the other two.
Mickey, have you got your astrology charts out? Have you consulted them? What do you think?
Well, I think the Orioles are in a position about like Custer was when he told his men he'd take no prisoners. But they've got to make something happen. They can't sit back and wait for a break to help them now. It looks to me like the breaks have all been going the other way, and this is a time when that old saying that if something's not happening, make it happen would be a good thing to use today, because they're just going to have to start trying to do something that is wild, because this is the last game.
You know what we didn't bring up? Earl Weaver was thrown out of the game. First time a manager since 1935.
I think that that might have hurt him a little bit, because when you play the whole year with a guy and you've done as good as they have done, you learn that whatever he says goes. And even though Billy Hunter is probably, he's been there all year right with him, and he's probably doing the same things that Weaver would have done, it's still not like having your leader there. So it might have hurt him a little bit.
You know, I'll bring up one more thing, because it was in the Baltimore baseball program for the World Series. They pointed out that the Bullets won the Eastern Division of the National Basketball Association, didn't make it to the finals. The Colts won the NFL last year. The Jets beat them in the Super Bowl. Baltimore declared the team of the decade in the American League, and they could lose. 3 in a row for Baltimore. Talk about the amazing Mets. Baltimore would go mad. We'll be back with the final predictions right after these messages on World Series Report. Forget Custer's last stand, Sandy. This might be our last stand. All right, team of experts. What do you think, Sandy?
Well, I said I thought McNally was going to pitch a great ball game. I'll be honest, I don't think it's going to be enough. I think a great ball game probably won't do it. I think Baltimore is believing in the Mets now, and they're waiting for something to happen. They're not going out and trying to win. They're wondering what's going to happen to them now.
Mickey?
Well, there was 2 elevators here at the studio this morning when I came up, and I was afraid to make a choice. So I think that I'm going to go down with the Orioles.
You may go down.
McNally again.
We may be back in Saturday from Baltimore, maybe not. Jim Simpson with Sandy Koufax and Mickey Mantle. Stay tuned now for the 5th game of the 1969 World Series.
Andy stars with Ray Charles, Cass Elliot, and Creedence Clearwater Revival Saturday night.
NBC Sports presents the 5th game of the 1969 World Series. The Baltimore Orioles versus the New York Mets. From Shea Stadium in New York. Brought to you by Chrysler Corporation, engineering with care. Your host for today, your local Chrysler Plymouth dealer. By your Phillips 66 dealer, where you can get premium flight fuel gasoline and famous Trop Arctic motor oil. By Gillette Right Guard deodorant, America's #1 deodorant, and Right Guard antiperspirant in the silver can. And by New Durell, the low-tar nicotine cigarette with flavor that says, taste me. Fans flooding in again. That's the Flushing subway as they move into Shea Stadium. Still 15 minutes before the first pitch of the 5th game of the World Series. And we have another bright, sunny afternoon, but it's cooler today than yesterday. The temperature is 61 degrees, and a strong wind right now is circulating around Shea Stadium. It's blowing in from first base toward third. Hi, everybody. I'm Curt Gowdy. This is Lindsay Nelson, and Tony Kubek is roaming the stands, as we'll give you today's coverage. And, of course, rhubarb swirled late into the night last night and right up here until game time today. First, about the ejection of the manager of the Baltimore Orioles, Earl Weaver. The home plate umpire, Shag Crawford, explained it. An automatic expulsion for Weaver protesting a ball and strike. And then on J.C. Martin's bunt, running to first base, he was struck on the left wrist. Pictures last night showed that he was running inside the foul line in fair territory. We're going to rerun the play for you and show you the outcome of that play. And Lindsay will explain the statement here made at 12:30 Eastern Time by the home plate umpire Crawford and the commissioner of baseball about the outcome of that decision. The pitchers today, Dave McNally has the job now of trying to send this series back to Baltimore and is Baltimore's last hope. McNally lost on Sunday 2-1 to Jerry Koosman, the left-hander from Billings, Montana, who lives now in Baltimore, going all the way. For the Mets, Jerry Koosman, who pitched a brilliant 2-hitter against Baltimore Sunday, was finally relieved in the 9th inning. He's coming back for the Mets today. And we were talking to Brooks Robinson before the game, and he said, so far, the Met pitchers have been the toughest set of pitchers on one staff that he or his teammates have ever hit against. But now let's get into some of the key plays of yesterday and more pregame dope. And here is Lindsay Nelson.
Thank you very much, Curt Gowdy, and hello again, everybody. As you know, everything that happens in a World Series is magnified 1,000-fold, especially if it's a pivotal ball game like yesterday's. The Mets now have won 3 and lost 1. They're in a commanding position, but keep in mind, last year at this same time, the St. Louis Cardinals led the Detroit Tigers 3-1, and Detroit won the World's Championship. So now let's look at some of those plays that were roundly discussed all around the town last night. It was Brooks Robinson up there with runners at first and third in the 9th. The Mets were leading 1-0, and Ron Swoboda comes over, makes a diving catch called by many the greatest defensive play of this World Series. Robinson tagged and scored the tying run afterwards, but he prevented Boog Powell at first from moving up, and so it was a 1-1 ball game in the bottom of the 10th, and Jerry Grody's up to lead off for the New York Mets. Grody lofts a pop fly into medium left field. Lost in the glare, Buford stayed back and then made the charge forward. Belanger went back and says he did not touch the ball. As you see it fall there, it went for 2 bases as it was recovered by Don Buford. That was a leadoff double then for Jerry Gowdy as he went sliding into second. That became the winning run. Rod Gasper came in to run for Gowdy. Al Weiss was up next, and he was intentionally walked with first base open. Then Gil Hodges hit for Seaver. He sent J.C. Martin up, and Pete Rickard was brought in to pitch to him. Sacrifice, he bunts the ball. Hendricks, the catcher, says that he yelled and he thought that he would make the play. In the den of Shea Stadium, Rickard said he didn't hear him. Watch Hendricks thinking that he has waved off the pitcher, reaches for the ball. Rickard gets it first. Watch Martin now down the line. As the throw is made, he is hit on the left wrist. He's clearly there inside. As the ball bounced away off the left wrist of J.C. Martin onto the grass in short right, the winning run scored as Gasper crossed the plate, and the Mets won the ball game by a score of 2-1. Now, there was a still picture that was being circulated at press headquarters last night that showed Martin to be in fair territory. And the rule states, of course, that if he is hit in fair territory, that is interference, and he should have been called out. Earl Weaver says he didn't see the picture till he got back to the hotel and wishes that he had never seen it. The commissioner made a statement saying that it is not an appeal play, that it is simply a judgment call. Shag Crawford says that he thought that at the moment that the ball hit J.C. Martin, Martin's right foot was on the foul line, which would make him in proper position. Those are the statements made at 12:30 by Crawford and the commissioner. Now let's go downstairs to Tony Kubek.
Thank you, Lindsay. With me in the commissioner's box, Joe DiMaggio and the commissioner of baseball, Bowie Kuhn. Mr. Commissioner, you had a tough statement to make this morning about the controversial play late in the ball game yesterday. Would you like to make it again?
Well, it wasn't too tough as far as I was concerned, Tony. I talked to the umpire, Shag Crawford, on the throw by Rickard to first base, and it was his judgment that the ball player going down the line, Martin, was permissibly within the running lane, and I've accepted his judgment. That is the end of it.
Joe D., you've seen such great fielding plays so far in this World Series, down in Baltimore and up here in New York, Shea Stadium. You, of course, were part of that famous Al Gianfrido catch. You hit the ball. Are these toppers?
Oh, yes, I do recall that when I hit in Gianfrido catch, but I'd have to say 2 of the catches I saw here the day before yesterday and yesterday's catch were about as fine as catches you want to see in World Series play, particularly the one Swoboda made yesterday, because that was the ball game. I didn't think he had a chance for that ball.
Well, you know, it's a play where an outfielder doesn't even have a chance to think on it. He can make his move now or he doesn't do it at all.
Well, that is true. He had to dive because there's no way he backing up to catch it on the hop. It got by him any way he played it.
Joe D., thank you so much. Mr. Commissioner, thank you so much.
All right, Tony.
Now let's go on back upstairs.
Now we're ready for the player introductions for today's 5th game.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Shea Stadium for the 5th game of the 1969 World Series. Here are the official lineups. First, the Baltimore Orioles. Here is the manager of the Orioles, number 4, Earl Weaver. Batting first, playing left field, number 9, Don Buford. Batting second, playing center field, number 6, Paul Blair. Batting third, playing right field, number 20, Frank Robinson. Batting fourth, playing first base, number 26, John Powell. Batting fifth, playing third base, number 5, Brooks Robinson. Batting sixth, playing second base, number 15, Dave Johnson. Batting seventh, catching, number 8, Andy Etchebarren. Batting eighth, playing shortstop, number 7, Mark Belanger. Batting ninth, pitching for the Orioles, number 19, warming up in the Oriole bullpen, Dave McNally. Here are the remaining players and coaches of the Baltimore Orioles. Now the New York Mets. Here's the manager of the Mets, number 14, Gil Hodges. Batting first, playing center field, number 20, Tommy Agee. Batting second, playing shortstop, number 3, Bud Harrelson. Batting third, playing left field, number 21, Cleon Jones. Batting fourth, playing first base, number 22, Don Clendenon. Batting fifth, playing right field, number 4, Ron Swoboda. Batting sixth, playing third base, number 5, Ed Charles. Batting seventh, catching, number 15, Jerry Gowdy. Batting eighth, playing second base, number 6, Al Weiss. Batting ninth, pitching, warming up in the Mets bullpen, number 36, Jerry Koosman. Here are the remaining players and coaches of the New York Mets. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please rise for our national anthem, which will be sung by the noted Broadway stage and recording star, Miss Pearl Bailey.
By the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at twilight's flashing, who brought silence and bright stars through the perilous fight. For the ramparts were so gallantly, and the rocket red the bombers gave.
Pearl Bailey, the national anthem, and we'll be underway with Game 5 of the World Series as the Baltimore Orioles meet the New York Mets.
The umpires for today's game, behind the plate, from the American League, Lou DeMuro. At first base, from the National League, Lee Wire. At second base, from the American League, Hank Stoller. At third base, from the National League, Frank Secori. On the left field line, from the American League, Larry Knapp. On the right field line, from the National League, Shea Crawford.
All right. We pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television network. The honor of throwing out the first ball for Game 5 goes to Joe DiMaggio, recently voted as the greatest living Major League ball player. Babe Ruth was rated the greatest player of all time. Jolton Joe, it's a big hand, has tossed to Gowdy. He played in 10 World Series, and they loved him in this town. A graceful, matchless performer, the center fielder. Bowie Kuhn, the commissioner, alongside him. And in the commissioner's box there, we have Dick Forbes, the director of advertising, Chrysler, on the left. Carl Lindemann, the president of sports of the National Broadcasting Company. Mrs. Kuhn and other dignitaries. The meeting at home plate, Earl Weaver and Gil Hodges. And just before the Mets take the field, here's Lindsay Nelson.
All right, Curt, Gowdy, the Mets taking the field here, hopeful that today they can win the ball game and wrap it up with a World's Championship here at Shea Stadium before the home folks. The Orioles aware that they need a 3-game winning streak, and manager Earl Weaver says they are professionals. They don't feel the pressure, especially that 17 times during the season that they had 3-game winning streaks. At first base, it's Don Clendenin for the Mets. At second base, it is Al Weiss. The shortstop is Bud Harrelson, and around at third, Ed Charles. Leon Jones is in left field. Tommy Agee is in center field, and Ron Swoboda is in right field. The catcher is Jerry Gowdy, and Jerry Koosman, who warmed up down in the bullpen under the watchful eye of Met pitching coach Rube Walker, has not yet made an appearance. There is Koosman toweling off before getting ready to come out onto the mound. Earlier this year, he had some shoulder difficulty, but once he got that straightened out, he had a great second half and has won victory, that coming last Sunday in the World Series competition. So it is Jerry Koosman out now to take his warm-up pitches. I was talking to him just before the ball game about where his home was actually located, because we had always listed him as Appleton, Minnesota. He said, well, actually now it's a place 11 miles away at Morse, Minnesota, but that actually he grew up not in either place. He grew up on a farm some 12 or 13 miles out of town. He used to play catch with his brother Orville Koosman. He used to be the catcher and Orville was the pitcher. He got to throwing him back harder than Orville was throwing to him, so Orville said, you be the pitcher. Here's his delivery. He's what they call sneaky fast, and he'll give you that fastball at 2 or 3 different speeds. He was the Mets stopper throughout the year. He brought them back from what few losing streaks they got into during the course of the season. Lou DeMiro of the American League at home plate today. Lee Wire of the National League at first. Hank Soar of the American League at second. Frank Sikori of the National League at third. Larry Knapp of the American League down the left field line. Shag Crawford of the National League down the right field line today. So the stage is set for game number 5 of the 1969 World Series. And coming in for the play-by-play, Curt Gowdy.
Thank you, Lindsay. A strong wind blowing from first to third. Don Buford, switch hitter, will be batting right. In the series, he's had 2 hits and 16 times up. Stoller coaching at first, Hunter at third for the Orioles.
Number 9.
Buford, Blair, and Frank Robinson for Baltimore. Buford, a .291 hitter during the season. Straight away for him. And Ed Charles in tight at third in case of the bunt. Buford's a good bunter. Fouls it off going after that first pitch. The sun will be playing hide and seek today. We have a lot of clouds overhead. The last 2 days here at Shea Stadium, the skies have been cloudless. Curve, grounded to shortstop. Bud Harrelson's up with it, and there's one down.
Batting in the second position.
Earl Weaver
Playing center field.
back in the dugout today.
Number 6, Paul Blair.
Paul
Number
Blair against Jerry Koosman on Sunday. Got the first hit off Koosman. Koosman had a no-hitter until Blair singled leading off in the 7th inning. Blair's had 2 hits and 16 times up. Slow ball hit to Agee out in center. Where 2 down. Frank Robinson has had 2 hits in 13 times up.
Frank Robinson, number 20.
During the year, Frank hit .308 with 32 homers, 100 RBIs. The power-hitting Orioles have been held to 1 home run in the series, and that was a leadoff home run in the opening game by Don Buford. Ball 1. Koosman quick with that pitch. Two and nothing to Frank Robinson. Boog Powell's on deck. Gil Hodges with his pitching coach Rube Walker in the Met dugout. There's a fly to right. Here's Swoboda. And the Orioles are down 1-2-3 in the first inning. Into the first half inning. The Orioles nothing, with the Mets coming to bat. Defensively have John Powell at first, Dave Johnson playing second base, Mark Belanger the shortstop,
For the New York Mets, leading off,
and Brooks Robinson at third.
number 20.
Buford in left, that's Blair in center. There's Buford in left. Frank Robinson's in right. Etchebarren's catching, and the first batter is Tom Agee for the Mets. Ball 1 delivered by Dave McNally. Agee has 2 hits in 15 times. One of those hits has been a home run. Twisting foul out of play. 1-1 to Tom Agee. Bud Harrelson will be up next, and then Cleon Jones. Pitching's dominated in this series. The Mets have a batting average of .220 as a team. The Orioles 144. Foul out of play again. One ball, 2 strikes to Tom Agee. McNally last Sunday went all the way, losing. Gave up 6 hits, walked 3, struck out 7. The 1-2 pitch, just a little high, 2-2. McNally, born in Billings, Montana, lives now in Lutherville, Maryland, a suburb of Baltimore. He'll be 27 years old this month. On deck, Bud Harrelson. 3-2. 2-2 pitch to Tom Agee. Milwaukee. Bud Harrelson, the Mets shortstop, has had 3 hits in 13 times.
Bud Harrelson, number 3.
Brooks Robinson even with the bag at third against him. Ball 1. And Etchebarren wants to settle his pitcher down now, McNally. The key to McNally's his curveball. When he's getting his curveball over, he's really tough. He won his first 15 decisions of the year. Strike. He tied 2 American League records for winning streaks. He had a 17-game winning streak. The last 2 wins of 1968, 15 in a row at the start of this season. That tied a record. Strike with the letters. Tied American League record for most consecutive wins over 2 seasons, set by Johnny Allen of the Indians back in 36 and 37. And by winning 15 in a row at the start of the year, he also tied Johnny Allen's record set back in 37. One ball, 2 strikes to Bud Harrelson. 2-2. McNally slumped off in August and September. He won 5 and lost 7 during those 2 months. Then he came back strong, shutting out Minnesota in the American League Championship Series in 11 innings. And he pitched a good game last Sunday, although he lost. 2-2 pitch. Ball 3. He's gone 3-2 in the first 2 batters. He's walked Agee. You'll hear this roar coming over constantly. The flight pattern of LaGuardia Airport coming right over our head. There goes the runner. Strike 3, the throw down. Belanger can't hold the ball. Harrelson struck out, and a low throw. We'll take a look at it probably.
Batting in the 3rd position, left fielder.
There's Agee. The throw is there, but it was a little low and rolled away from Belanger. Watch Agee going again now. Just moving over, but the ball had dropped out of the glove.
Give Agee a stolen base. He's on second, 1 out. Cleon Jones up. Jones has had 2 hits in 16 times. Hit .340 for the year. No score. Last of the 1st inning. Blocked by Etchebarren. That's McNally's curve, and he has a sharp one. It comes off and drops very sharply. Tom Agee with his back to you, getting his lead at second. 1 ball, no strikes to count. Dugout. Two balls, no strikes. That was Clendenon on deck. Nothing pitch to Jones. 2-1 now. McNally's been good at home and on the road. Agee at second, 1 out. He won 8, lost 3 in Baltimore, and on the road he won 12 and lost 4. Pitch to Jones. A high fly ball to right field. Frank Robinson drawing a beat on it. Agee tagging at second and is coming over. Throw is cut off by Belanger. Agee's on third, 2 down. This game authorized under television rights granted by Major League Baseball solely for the entertainment of our audience. And any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Commissioner of Baseball is prohibited. Don Clendenin hit a home run off McNally Sunday. He was 1 out of 3 in that game. For the series, Clendenin has 4 hits in 11 times. 4 players on the Mets have had 4 hits in the series. Ball 1. Boog Powell's the only man for Baltimore that has had 4 hits. Swoboda's had 4 hits. Brody 4 hits. Weiss 4 hits. On deck, Ron Swoboda. 2 down. Agee at third. No score. Last of the first. The 1-0 pitch. Ball 2. Agee may have bothered him a little bit, Lindsay.
I think so, Curt. Agee made 1 dash during the championship series with Cleon Jones up there, and Cleon apparently didn't see him, and when he swung the bat and fouled the ball off, he was about a foot from Agee's head.
The 2-0 pitch. Strike 2 and 1. In fact, Agee made the statement, Cleon Jones is such a good hitter, he tried to miss that pitch in Atlanta and couldn't. Tom Agee at third. 2 down. 2 and 1 to Don Clendenin. Two and 2 now. Bluff throw. Agee scrambling back. Get a ball up in the air today to left field. It's going to be given a boost. It's a crosswind blowing from first to third. The 2-2 pitch, just inside, 3 and 2. This is the third 3 and 2 count that McNally's had here in the first inning. Three-two pitch. Ball 4. Baltimore already has action in their bullpen. Dave Leonard is warming up.
Right fielder.
Right-hander.
Number 4, Ron.
Ron Swoboda, the batter.
Number 4.
Leonard warming up. McNally has walked 2. He's had 3 and 2 counts in the game. He is usually much sharper with his control. He walked 2.8 batters for every 9 innings pitched during the year. He's already walked 2 here in the first inning. Ron Swoboda, 4 hits and 11 times up. 1-0 to him. Clendenin at first. Agee's at third. And the first pitch by McNally to every batter has been a ball so far. Two and nothing. The on-deck batter's Ed Charles. Delivery. 2 and 1. Agee at third. Clendenin at first. 2 out, no score, last of the first inning. Swoboda being played as a pull hitter to left. 2-1 delivery. 2-2 now. That one just took the corner at the letters. Both runners getting, Clendon will move off in a moment. Two-two pitch. Foul back right over our NBC booth. So while McNally ties those shoes, it's been a struggle for him here in this first inning, Lindsay.
Thrown a lot of pitches here in this inning, and he's had trouble getting that ball over. So he's faced now with a 2-2 delivery with 2 men out, runners at first and third to Ron Swoboda.
Two-two pitch. Struck him out with a good fastball. He struck out 2 and he walked 2 in that first inning. No runs for the Mets, no hits, there were no errors, and 2 men left. At the end of the first inning, it's Baltimore nothing and New York nothing. Baltimore wins today. Friday will be an off day for travel. We'll be back with you in Baltimore on Saturday at 12:30 Eastern Time. World Series report, Jim Simpson, Sandy Koufax, and Mickey Mantle, followed by Game 6.
Number 26, John Powell. Number 26.
Bob Short, the president of the Washington Senators, Ted Williams with his arm on the railing, and Mrs. Williams next to him. One to Boog Powell. Powell, the leading hitter in the series for the Orioles with an average of 267. Has had 4 hits, 15 times up. 1-1. In fact, Powell's the only Oriole hitting over 200. Koosman's been coming in sidearm to him. Powell, Brooks Robinson, and Dave Johnson for the Orioles here in the top of the second. 2-1 to Powell. The check swing, but it's over. 2-2. Brooks Robinson on deck. Three and two. You'll see more banners in this ballpark. It became famous for them over the years than any other park in the major leagues. A 3-2 pitch to Powell. Powell back. They have a banner day here every year, don't they, Lindsay?
It's a fantastic sight to see. It's a promotion that's been copied in other major league ballparks, and this year there were more than 3,000 entries. And they open the center field gates and they march in and around the ballpark.
3-2 to Boog Powell. A high fly, deep left center. Leon Jones, the left fielder, makes the grab, and there's 1 out. Brooks Robinson
Third baseman, number 5, Brooks
has had
Robinson.
one hit
Number
in
5.
15 times, but he has knocked in the only 2 runs the Orioles have scored in the last 31 innings. One on a base hit and the other a line drive, and that fantastic catch by Swoboda in the top of the 9th inning yesterday. Strike to him. I was asking Brooks Robinson before the game just how good are these Met pitchers, and he said plenty good. They're the hardest throwing set of pitchers I've ever hit against. Change up. 1-1. On deck is Dave Johnson. Robinson thought Seaver was the quickest of the pitchers he'd hit against. Curve is over, strike 2. 1 ball, 2 strikes. No score. We're in the top of the 2nd. Count holds. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Brooks Robinson.
Curt Koosman was signed for a bonus of $1,200. Scout Red Murph offered him $1,500, then $14, then $13, and then $12, and he signed for $12. He said he thought if he didn't sign then, he'd be owing them money by the next week.
Ground ball to short. Bud Harrelson's throw. 2 down. I'd say the Mets got a real bargain with this boy.
They did that.
Batting in the 6th position.
This 5th game of the 1969 World Series being brought to you in living color on NBC. NBC celebrating its 30th anniversary of sports telecast and its 23rd year of World Series coverage. Dave Johnson, the Baltimore second baseman, has not had a hit in 12 times. 2 down, nobody on. Ball goes by Charles in the left. Johnson's on. We're about to say he may not have had a hit, but he's played rather an obscured second base with all the other great plays. He's made 2 fine plays of himself. And there's his first base hit according to the official score.
Number 8, Andy.
Johnson at first, 2 down. Andy Etchebarren. Here's a kite beyond the center field stands. Etchebarren up 3 times, no hits. Played in the 2nd game at Baltimore. Hit .249 for the season. Of Boston descent. Big chopper to Charles. Goes to second for the force on Johnson. The Orioles are out in the 2nd. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, 1 left. At the end of an inning and a half, it's Baltimore nothing and New York nothing. Let's quickly go down to Tony Kubek.
Thank you, Curt. With me is the wife of Tom Seaver, Nancy. And Nancy, are you as nervous today as you were yesterday?
No, not half as nervous. I'm looking forward to winning today, though.
You don't think we're going back to Baltimore?
No, I don't think we are. I don't want to. I'm wearing my lucky ring and my lucky button.
Nancy Seaver, thank you so much. Let's go back upstairs.
Ed Charles, strike 1 to him. He had 2 hits and 4 times up against McNally on Sunday. A double and then a single in the 9th, which started a winning rally. He's the old-timer of the Mets. Hits it down to Brooks Robinson. Grabs it on that offbeat hop and throws him out. And there's one down.
Batting at the 7th position.
They'll be talking about third base play for years.
Number 15.
With the show that boy's put on.
Number 15.
Brooks lives now in the Baltimore area. His mother and father up here from Little Rock, Arkansas, though, to watch him play in the series. Jerry Gowdy. 4 hits and 15 times up, a strike to him. On deck is Al Weiss. Gowdy is the only player in the series to hit safely in every game. He's had 1 hit in each game. We have no score. This is the last of the second. On the corner. 0-2 to Gowdy. One ball, 2 strikes. The Orioles have not alibied the position they're in right now. They give the Mets full credit. The 1-2 pitch. A fly ball into deep right center. Paul Blair getting on his horse. Back for it. 2 down. The manager of the Orioles, Earl Weaver, said, look, they've made the plays when they've had to, and that's why they're winning.
Second baseman.
And you talk to the various Oriole players, they have nothing but praise for the Met pitching and the Met fielding. 2 down. Nobody on, and Al Weiss the batter. He's had 4 hits in 7 times up. Batting .571 in the World Series. McNally curves him as low. And of course he knocked in the winning run against McNally last Sunday in the top of the 9th inning. Line shot, grabbed by the shortstop Belanger. 3 up and 3 down. At the end of 2 innings, the score is 0-0. Well, wouldn't be surprised to see another 1-0 or 2-1 game. Well, Jim, I did that yesterday. You know, I don't think we should have the brunt of having to add 11. They ought to be right to that. I'll do it. I did it yesterday. Well, it's certainly been an exciting year for baseball here in New York. Probably never been matched before. It's been that way across the country with the new divisional setups in baseball. We had that wild race in the Western Division of the National League. Record attendances this year. We hope you've enjoyed Major League Baseball, especially on the game of the week during the season. Mark Belanger leads off for the Orioles and fouls it off. Belanger at 2 for 12. Of course, the highlight of the entire season has been the rise of the Mets. There's a balloon on the field. That's one way to handle it.
I'd expect that's the best possible way to handle it.
Belanger, McNally, and Buford for the Orioles this inning. 1 ball, 1 strike. That's Dave McNally. Swung late and just got a piece. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The Orioles have the only hit so far. Dave Johnson single. Mayor Lindsay. Loops it into right field on a curveball. Why Belanger improved his average so much. Look out. He just got back, and they're trying to push him off there. That's the catcher, Jerry Gowdy, down there. Right fielder Swoboda made a quick throw, hoping to get Belanger making the turn.
Look at this again now. Swoboda up with it, and Gowdy followed the runner up to cover the bag. Takes the throw now. Made one tag, and Belanger's back, and then Gowdy attempted to push him off the bag.
Number 19.
Lee Wire making the safe call.
I don't believe Belanger was too happy with that tag. There's a drive by McNally, hit the deep left field, and that ball is into the Baltimore bullpen. Dave McNally has put the Orioles out in front 2-0. He hits a home run now and then. He hit 4 American League home runs, 3 last season, and 1 this season. And on the first pitch now, he has the Orioles out in front 2-0.
Number 9.
Ball 1 to Don Buford. Nobody on, nobody out. Baltimore leading 2-0. A strike to him. 1-1. The ball didn't take long to get out of here, Lindsay.
Certainly didn't. Dropped it right over the wall into the Oriole bullpen.
Foul out of play. 1-2 to Buford, who grounded to short his first time. Gets it off the fist to Bud Harrelson. Has to hurry, and he gets to Fleet Buford. 1 down.
Center fielder.
When a man like Buford's going down the line, there's a lot of pressure on the infielder. He knows he can run, and he has to charge and get rid of that ball in a hurry. Paul Blair flied to center his first time. This boy hit 300 all year until he went into a slump in September. Strike. On deck is Frank Robinson. Curve is inside. Went into the slump. He said he was jerking his head. You know, they say keep your eyes on the ball. He was taking his eyes off the ball as he swung, jerking his head around. There goes his bat. Look out. Nearly into the Baltimore Oriole box over there for their club executives. One ball, 2 strikes to Paul Blair. The fractured ankle. 67, recovered from it. Was now one of the best defensive center fielders in baseball and a good hitter. 1-2 to him. Struck him out on a curve. Merle Bailey, who sang the national anthem and is not just one of those fans that comes to a game when the World Series is on. She's out here all summer rooting for the Mets. 2 down for the Orioles. Frank Robinson up. He flied to right his first time. Looking back to last year's World Series, we remember home runs by Bob Gibson and Mickey Lolich. There's a long belt by Robinson. Forget that one. It's gone. Nobody moved in the Met outfield or infield. Robinson slams it into deep left center, and the Orioles lead 3-0. And this is the kind of hitting that the Orioles had all year until September 7th, when they went into a team batting slump during the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season. But still had the pitching and defense to win.
John Powell, number 26.
And Gil Hodges, his usual impassive self. That's the 4th World Series home run for Frank Robinson. Ball 1 to Boot Powell. Hit 1 in 61, 2 in 66, playing with the Reds in 61, and then this one right now. 3-0. The Orioles leading. The curve is low. Ball 2. 2 down, nobody on. Jerry Koosman has been roughed up here in the 3rd. Foul ball back. Earl Weaver, the Oriole manager, said, we're going to break loose sometime. It's got to be today or it's all over. But he said, I know we're going to come out of it. We've got too many good hitters to be scoring no runs or 1 run the way we're doing. The 2-1 pitch. Foul. 2-2. Strike 3, but the Orioles came up with 3 runs, 3 hits. There were no errors, nobody left. At the end of 2.5 innings, it's Baltimore 3 and the Mets nothing. Tony Kubek.
How about the second half?
Hello, Dolly. How are you, Pearl?
Don't leave, you almost choked me.
You're eating a hot dog like a true Mets fan.
I tell you, everybody's getting so nervous.
You're not nervous?
No, of course not. Jerry has got, I said he had an arm and so that was all.
Hits a home run for Baltimore, and Jerry Koosman goes after the first pitch and slams a double into the left field corner for the Mets. So he's on second, nobody out, and Tom Agee up, walked in the first inning. Koosman had only 4 hits all season, and they were all single. 4 hits at 84 times up. All right, Agee walked his first time. A ball to him. The Orioles are leading 3-0, last of the 3rd. Strike. One ball, 1 strike. Bud Harrelson's on deck, and then Cleon Jones. Curve is high. 2-1. That's Koosman on second. They'll have the windbreakers on today. It's 61 degrees. With the wind blowing, they can chill off very quickly. The 2-1 pitch. Ball 3 to Agee. 3-1. It's a high pop, shallow center. Paul Blair coming on. One away. Koosman staying at second.
Shortstop, Bud.
Bud Harrelson, the next Met batter, struck out his first time. Koosman with his lead at second, one out. Now back. Practicing his stance and his cut. Cleon Jones on deck. One strike pitch. Beautiful curve by McNally. 0-2. Well, it's either going to be over here today or we'll be in Baltimore Saturday with Gentry against Palmer, probably. There's some surprise moves by the two managers. Foul ball. Eddie Yost, who used to play a mess of third base for the Senators, the third base coach of the Mets. One out. Jerry Koosman at second, last of the third. Baltimore's ahead, 3-0. 2 strikes to Bud Harrelson. 1-2 to him. McNally gets that ball placed in that pocket. Foul ball. Doesn't pitch with a big windup, you'll notice. Gets his fingers in position and then hides that ball. One ball, 2 strikes to Bud Harrelson. Struck him out. That's strikeout number 3 for Dave McNally. There are 2 down, and Cleon Jones coming up. He's flying to right his first time.
Jones, number 21.
McNally's had an incredible record since the All-Star game of 1968. He's won 34 and lost 9 in the last year and a half. Baltimore, 3 runs, 4 hits. New York, no runs, 1 hit. Cleon Jones hits to all fields. He's played just about straight away by the Oriole outfield. Ball 1 to him. Don Clendenin on deck. Ball 2. Some of these fantastic catches we've had in the World Series have come about because the players have been in just about the right position to make them. The 2 clubs thoroughly scouted each other. You can have scout reports, but the pitchers have to throw to the hitters the way that you want them to and get the ball where they want to. And both sides have been doing this. 2 balls, no strikes. Jones is a good breaking ball hitter. Pitch is over, 2-1. Baltimore leading 3-0, last of the third. Koosman at second, 2 down. Fouls it off. 2-2 count. Koosman led off this inning with a double. He's still on second. Agee flying out. Harrelson struck out. The 2-2 pitch coming up to Cleon Jones. And he pops it up. Boog Powell, Dave Johnson converging. Look out. Who's got it? Powell yelled Johnson off. So the Mets are out in the last of the third. No runs, 1 hit. There were no errors, 1 left. At the end of 3 innings, it's Baltimore 3 and the Mets nothing.
This is number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Neither.
Satchmo Louis Armstrong sitting there with Toots Shore. Always a great ball fan here at Shea Stadium. Remember, the World Series goes 7 games on Sunday. You'll see another baseball-football doubleheader on NBC. Coverage beginning at 1:30.
Robinson.
Denver at Cincinnati, San Diego at Boston, Miami at Kansas City, Buffalo at Oakland. If the World Series is over on Sunday, they'll have 2 American Football League games. In the 4th inning, Brooks Robinson leads off. Brooks grounded out his first time to short. Jerry Koosman's pitch. A ball to him. Dave Johnson's on deck. Then Andy Etchebarren. 1-1 to Robinson. Belanger singled in the 3rd. McNally homered. Then with 2 down, Frank Robinson homered. And the Orioles have 3 runs, 4 hits. The Mets, no runs, 1 hit. 2-1 count. Fouls into the stand. A high fly ball, left center. Tom Agee calling for it. 1 away.
Second baseman.
Dave Johnson, the batter.
Dave Johnson.
There have been only 3 teams in World Series history who have been down 3 games to 1 and have come back to win the World Championship. Pittsburgh did it in 1925 against the Senators. The Yankees in 1958 against Milwaukee. Strike 1 to Dave Johnson, who singled the lefties first time. And the Tigers last year were down 3 games to 1 and then beat the Cardinals. The Orioles are down 3 games to 1 coming into this game. 0-2 to Johnson. swing. Koosman with an easy play. 2 down. Andy Etchebarren will be the next batter. He wrapped into a force play his first time.
Andy Etchebarren, number 8.
Well, aside from the 2 home runs by McNally and Frank Robinson, everything's been sort of quiet so far. Strike. This is the top of the 4th inning. One and one to Etchebarren. Mark Belanger on deck. Bounding ball to Elweiss. An easy 1-2-3 inning for Jerry Koosman. At the end of 3.5 innings, Baltimore 3, New York nothing.
Ladies and gentlemen, would Mrs. Marion Bauer please report to the press gate? Also,
Pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC Television Network. Curt Gowdy with Lindsay Nelson and Tony Kubek. Don Clendenin in the last of the 4th inning for the Mets. He walked his first time. McNally drops the curve to him for a strike. Ron Swoboda's on deck, and then Ed Charles. Strike 2. Clendenin's the busiest batter in the series at the plate. Watch him now. He's wiggling and waggling. The 2-strike pitch. Fastball. 1-2. For Dave McNally.
right fielder.
Clendenin wasn't too happy with the call.
Swoboda, number 4.
McNally walked 2 in the first, had 3 3-2 counts. Now seems to be pitching himself into some control. 1 out, nobody on. Swoboda struck out his first time. Nothing a 1 to him. Ed Charles will be up next. Strike 2. One out, nobody on. 1-2. Count came right in there with a fastball to him. That's the second hit for the Mets.
Third baseman.
And the batter's Ed Charles, who grounded out to third his first time. Orioles have had 4 hits. The Mets have had 2 hits. 0-1 to Charles. Swoboda at first. Stole only one base all year. 1-1. Baltimore's ahead, 3-0. The Mets are batting here in the last of the fourth. Jerry Gowdy due up next. High pop foul, Etchebarren. 2 down. You won't handle many higher foul pops than that one.
Catcher, Jerry Gowdy.
So we have 2 away for the
Number
Mets.
15.
Swoboda at first, and Jerry Gowdy the catcher up. Fly to center in a second. Jerry Gowdy. Two away, Ron Swoboda at first. 1-1 pitch. Hit hard to Belanger. Big hot hit. Down in the stands again to Tony.
Thank you. With me, one of the great baseball fans in the world, Toots Shore. And Toots, I know you're a Giant fan and a Willie Mays fan, but who are you pulling for in this series?
The hometown, the Mets I'm pulling for, because it's our hometown. It's the only one other town I'd root for would be San Francisco.
They can't do anything wrong, can they?
No, they can't, and Gill's doing a great job. Hodges, I think, is doing the best job of handling his men and running a baseball team as good as any man I've ever known in my life.
Toots Shore, thank you very much. Let's go back upstairs.
Mark Belanger takes ball 1. He looped a single to right, then came in to score on McNally's homer in the third. Dave McNally will be up next. 1-1. There's the slugger. Belanger was a great basketball player at Pittsfield, Massachusetts High School. Fouled out of play. He has those loose actions in the field that you could tell he must have been quite a basketball player. 1-2 pitch to him. Fly ball to right. Swoboda right there for, and there's 1 down. Dave McNally.
Pitcher.
Homered his first time.
McNally. Number 19.
There's that professional sign artist. He must be exhausted at the end of the year. He paints 60 signs for every game he puts out. He has a file system. Nothing at 1. One out, nobody on. Strike 2 to McNally. The Orioles are leading 3-0 in the top of the 5th inning. $57,397 has been announced as the paid attendance. Struck him out on 3 pitches. 2 down. Jerry Koosman,
Left fielder.
was tough here at Shea Stadium this year, winning 9 and losing 3.
Number 9.
He was runner-up in his rookie year last year to Johnny Bench of the Reds as Rookie of the Year. He missed 40 or nearly a month this season with a He called it a numb shoulder, didn't he, Lindsay? Just a stiff, numb shoulder.
It was a muscle underneath the shoulder there. They had a little trouble diagnosing it for a while.
He missed a month and still won 17 games this year. Don Buford looks at that fastball for a strike. Buford twice has grounded to short. The Orioles have 2 down, nobody on, and they have Paul Blair on deck. Outside. 1-1 to Buford. Harrelson playing in a step or two on him, and Ed Charles even with a bag of third. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Don Buford. The lights are on here. It's getting darker. Overcast over Shea Stadium. Curve is hit into right center. That ball is cut by Ron Swoboda.
There's Ron Swoboda now moving over into right center and backhanding the ball into the glove in full flight for the out that retired the side.
Well, the Orioles are out 1-2-3 in the top of the 5th at the end of 4.5 innings. It's Baltimore 3 and New York nothing.
I vote him the greatest living defensive right fielder of all time.
The New York broadcaster, Lindsay Nelson.
Thank you very much, Curt Gowdy, and hello again, everybody. Al Weiss takes a pitch low for ball 1. Weiss has had 4 hits in this World Series. Today he's been up 1 time and lined out to Mark Belanger at shortstop. In there for a called strike, 1-1. Dave McNally had a shaky start today. Walked 2 men in the first inning. There was action in the Baltimore bullpen, but he has settled down now to the McNally that the Oriole fans know and love. Here's a swing and a miss. It's 1-2. And he has been posted to a 3-run lead. He hit a 2-run home run, and Frank Robinson hit one. That's Jerry Koosman on deck now for the Mets, who have been unable to get anything started of substance against McNally. Here's a foul ball. It's 1-2. McNally has struck out 4, and he's walked 2. Those 2 walks in the very first inning. Trying to bring Baltimore home ahead to take this series back to Baltimore for game number 6 of the 1969 World Series, which would be scheduled for Saturday. Foul ball backing out of play, and the count holds at 1-2 to Al Weiss. Al Weiss in his major league career has had 6 home runs. 1 of them was off Dave McNally. He hit 2 of those 6 at Wrigley Field in Chicago against the Cubs in a crucial series earlier this year. Ground ball to third. Big hop up to Brooks Robinson. Guns it across to Powell in time, and Weiss is out. 1 away, and Jerry Koosman peels off the jacket. He hits a double down the left field line in the 3rd inning. He is not known for his prowess with the bat. The Mets are batting here in the bottom half of the 5th inning. They've had only 2 hits off Dave McNally. A double by Koosman, a single by Ron Swoboda. Foul ball backing out of play for strike 1. That's in for a called strike. The Mets with their predominantly right-hand batting order here this afternoon against the left-hander. It is the batting order that produced 1 run in the first game of the World Series and 2 to get a win over McNally in the second game last Sunday. Yesterday, it was the right-hand batting order that produced the 2 runs to get a 2-1 win in 10 innings. Tommy Agee's on deck. Just
Just outside, it's 1-2. It was the Mets' left-hand batting order that swept the 3 games from the Atlanta Braves to win the National League pennant for the Mets. And it was their left-hand batting order that scored 5 runs in game number 3 here in the 5-0 win. Swing and a miss, strikeout number 5 for Dave McNally. 2 Mets are out in the 5th inning, and Tommy Agee is coming up.
Tommy Agee.
Agee walked, stole second in the 1st inning. He flied out to center field in the 3rd. He was the big hero of the Met victory in the 3rd game of the World Series here, day before yesterday. Bunts the ball up the 3rd base line. Let's watch Robinson play it. He overruns it with the bare hand stab, and Agee is on. Robinson made the bare hand stab and came up empty.
Well, the first time Robinson hasn't handled this ball. Looked like it took a hop as he reached down with a bare hand. Watch it here. Right over the top of his hand. He would have had to make some play to get Agee anyway.
It is scored as a base hit, the 3rd for the Mets. There are 2 men out, and Bud Harrelson's up. Switch hitter batting right. Fly ball to center field, and Paul Blair has it lined up. So the side is out. The Mets with no runs, a hit, no errors, and 1 man left at the end of 5 full innings of play. The score is the Orioles 3 and the Mets nothing. We pause now for station identification.
Center fielder, Paul Blair, number 6.
And Nancy Sieber, Tom's wife, is the subject of that banner. This is Lindsay Nelson with Curt Gowdy and Tony Kubek at Shea Stadium in New York. Game number 5 of the 1969 World Series. The Orioles are up in the 6th inning, leading 3-0. Koosman's pitch to Blair is low for a ball. Blair flied to center and struck out swinging. That's high and away for a ball. Perhaps you recall yesterday seeing Tom Seaver walk back to second base umpire Lee Wire at one point, and then the ball was thrown out of play. We were talking to Tom about that before the ball game today. There's a swing and a drive deep center field, way back, and Agee retreats and one-hands the ball, turning around. Tommy Agee.
Looks like he nearly turns the wrong way on this one.
Right fielder.
Now he has to spin around.
Robinson, number 20.
Another one-hander by Tom Agee.
Some kind of outfield play here in this World Series. There's 1 man out, and Frank Robinson is up. He lined to right field in the 1st inning, and he homered a long home run to left center in the 3rd. Swinging a foul ball back. Tom Seaver said that yesterday he looked down at the ball and discovered it was an American League ball. So he walked back to the umpire and said, "Do I have to use this?" And he said, "No." So they exchanged it. He said there wasn't much difference, maybe no difference, but he was surprised to find that it was an American League ball, and he didn't know how it got in there. Here's a pitch in for a strike. It's 2 strikes now to Robinson. Joe Cronin's signature on one and Warren Giles on the other one. That's it. Boog Powell is on deck. And Robinson is hit by the... No, it's a foul ball. It's a foul ball, says Lou DeMuro. And now Earl Weaver is out. Earl Weaver is out there again. The umpire is Lou DeMuro of the American League. DeMuro called it a foul ball. Robinson and Weaver are contended that he was hit by the pitch ball, and they're asking him to ask the advice of Lee Wire at first base. Well, yesterday didn't back Earl Weaver off any. Weaver wants to keep his man in the game. Weaver and Robinson back up now. For a word with Lou DeMuro. Now the Oriole manager goes back to the dugout. Parting little blast. He's not through yet. Recall that there was a similar incident yesterday with Ed Charles of the Mets at bat when Gil Hodges came out to discuss the matter with umpire Shag Crawford at the time. Robinson has gone back into the dugout. George Bamberger, the pitching coach, is there with Weaver. Umpire Lou DeMuro is coming over to the dugout. That runway goes back to the locker room. And apparently Robinson went back there for some treatment. The umpire is asking, where's Robinson? I think it would be a fair question at this time. He might have gone in and had a quick look by that trainer that he worked on, Lindsay. Here he is. He did. No, that's Buford coming out. That's Buford. I think he did, because that goes right back to the locker room where the trainer would be, and I think he did. So play is held up here in the World Series. Are getting into the act, because as far as Met fans are concerned, baseball is a participating sport. They worked on him. He's taking his shirt off. So Robinson will be back out here in a moment. Informed that the trainer said he had a goose egg on his leg. So as soon as he has readjusted the uniform, Robinson will be back out here with a 2-strike count. There's one man out, nobody on base. The Orioles are batting in the top half of the 6th inning, and they are leading the Mets by a score of 3-0 in this 5th game of the World Series. Two is the count. Koosman's pitch to Frank Robinson. Foul back.
and the count holds at 2 strikes. Breaking pitch is high, and it goes to 1-2. Delivery. Breaking pitch in for a call, strike 3. Strikeout number 4 for Koosman. And Boog Powell is coming up. He's flied to left and struck out so far. As Curt Gowdy has pointed out, Koosman likes to sidearm Powell. 3-quarter there, and it's low for a ball. Powell is the only left-handed hitter in this ball game, including both sides. Discounting, of course, the switch hitters, Don Buford and Bud Harrelson, who are batting right today. Swing and a miss. It's 1-1. Breaking pitch low, and it's 2-1. Brooks Robinson. Swing and a miss. It's 2-2. Orioles 3 runs, 4 hits. The Mets no runs, 3 hits. 2-2 delivery. Check swing, pop out into left, and it is on by for a base hit. Boog Powell checked the swing and just popped it out past Harrelson into left.
All he was trying to do was just lay the bat on the ball. Watch it here in slow motion. Pitch going away from him. You really had that rear end out there.
So with a runner at first and 2 men out, it's Brooks Robinson up now. Grounded out short to first and flied to center. Swing and a miss. It's strike 1. That's left field, and Cleon Jones makes the catch. No runs, a hit, no errors, and 1 left. In the middle of the 6th inning, the score is Baltimore 3 and the Mets nothing. Down to the roving Mr. Tony Kubek.
Sitting down here with me, and if I just call him Satsmo, the whole world know who I'm speaking about. Satsmo, how you enjoying the ball game?
It's a beautiful game, young telling you. And I've been enjoying the whole series.
You a Mets fan?
Yeah, we don't know who's going to win it. But still in all, you got to enjoy it. They're both beautiful teams.
You're a beautiful man. Louis Satsmo Armstrong, thank you.
Thank you, man.
Let's go on back upstairs.
That young man appears to be a Met fan. He's got on all the signs. Leon Jones is up now. Bottom half of the sixth inning. Leon has gone 0 for 2, flied to right and popped out to first base. The Mets have had only 3 hits off of Dave McNally, who's been thoroughly in command. Leon skipping to get out of the way, and it's ball 1. He starts down to first base, and DeMuro calls him back. So Cleon thought he was hit by the pitch ball, and now comes Yogi Berra down from the coaching lines at first, about halfway. And Gil Hodges carrying the baseball. It's coming over now. Hodges showing the baseball to DeMuro. Hodges, we might have a shoe polish play here. Remember the Nippy Jones shoe polish play in the 1957 World Series at Milwaukee? Hodges showing it to Lou DeMuro, who awards first base. Another shoe polish play here at Shea Stadium. And here comes Earl Weaver. You could bet on that.
You see 2 complete different approaches here from the managers. Weaver is more the fiery type when he comes out. Hodges just seems to be almost unemotional when he is even trying to make a point with an umpire.
Weaver still has a few words to say on the subject, as he wants to see the baseball. He said, let me see it. Let me see the shoe polish. It was Augie Donatelli, I believe, who called the shoe polish play in the 57 World Series, with Nippy Jones of the Milwaukee Braves at the plate. After he saw the shoe polish, he awarded him first base. So with nobody out, the Mets have a base runner, and Don Clendenon is up, and the Met fans have come alive here. That's fouled off, and it's strike 1. Ron Swoboda is on deck.
Lindsay, when Robinson went into evidently his clubhouse, McNally had a long wait in that dugout.
Did have a long wait. This will be a strike 1 delivery. That's high and away, and it's 1-1. So Echebarren goes out now just to have a word with McNally, who started a little shakily as far as control was concerned today, then settled down and became extremely sharp. Mets have had only 3 hits. The Orioles are leading in the game by a score of 3-0. This will be a 1-1 delivery to Don Clendenon. Swing and a miss. It's 1-2. Clendenon came to the Mets this year from the Montreal Expos. Spent most of his career with the Pittsburgh Pirates. One-two delivery. Outside, so it's 2-2. With Swoboda there on deck, with the weighted donut on the bat. This will be a 2-2 offering. Way back in left field. Buford goes to the wall. It's going down for a home run for Clendenon. Clendenon's 3rd home run in this World Series. It is Baltimore 3 and the Mets 2. He hit a 2-2 pitch.
Watch this. This curveball hangs right over the plate for him. Alley hung the curve to him, right over the plate to him.
So Don Clendenon has his 3rd home run of this World Series, and Ron Swoboda's up now with nobody on and nobody out. It's the Baltimore Orioles 3 and the New York Mets 2. Bunts the ball back. Echebarren can't get to it. It's a foul ball out of play and strike 1. So Dick Hall, I believe it is, up and throwing. Yes, it is. Hall is up and throwing. He was the losing pitcher in yesterday's ball game. Came in to pitch the 10th. Tug McGraw is throwing in the Met bullpen. Tug McGraw is up and throwing for the Mets. That's low for a ball as the Mets get down lower in their batting order. Swoboda is the number 5 man. Look at the little action. There's McGraw, the left-hander. So the ballpark has come alive now with the hometown team having scored twice. That's in for a called strike. It's 1-2. Wind is blowing out toward left. There's a 1-2 pitch. Inside low, and it's 2-2 now to Ron Swoboda. Ed Charles is next in the order. The Mets are batting in the bottom half of the 6th inning at Shea Stadium in New York. Dave McNally's 2-2 pitch to Ron Swoboda. And it is looped out back of second where it's taken by Dave Johnson, who had good position. They were playing Swoboda to pull, and he was practically behind the bag at second to take the soft line drive. Watch Joe Garagiola each morning on the Today Show as he brings you highlights of the World Series and talks with the stars of each game. That's a great way to start the day, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. With one man out and nobody on, Ed Charles is up. Breaking pitch is low, bounds off the glove of Etchebarren, and it's ball 1. Charles is grounded out third to first, and he's fouled out to the catcher. Jerry Grody's on deck. Foul back. It's 1-1 now to Ed Charles. The night before the New York Mets clinched the National League pennant to get into the World Series, I was talking to Ed Charles, and he was saying with some emotion, I have waited 18 years and I'll never get another chance. This was what he wanted to do, get into a World Series in his 18th year of professional baseball. High and away. It's 2-1. McNally's 2-1 pitch. Now it on the ground. Brooks Robinson with the big hop. Guns to Boog Powell, and Charles is out. 2 away, and Jerry Grody will be the batter. Grody has flied to center and grounded into a force play so far. It was Grody's fly ball to left, misjudged by Buford, which became a double and the winning run in the 10th inning yesterday. Here's a ground ball to short. A big hop up to Belanger, across to Boog Powell, and the side is out. So it's 2 runs on 1 hit. No errors and none left. At the end of 6 full innings of play, the score is the Orioles 3 and the Mets 2. This Saturday night, Andy Williams plays host to Don Knotts, Ray Charles, Cass Elliott, the Osmond Brothers, and the Creedence Clearwater Revival. Join the fun. It's the Andy Williams Show, Saturday at 7:30, 6:30 Central Time on most of these NBC stations. Dave Johnson's up. He's 1 for 2. Koosman's pitches and fastball for a called strike one. Etchebarren's on deck. The Orioles are batting in the 7th inning, leading the Mets by a score of 3-2. Fly ball down the right field line. Swoboda coming fast to the line. Foul territory. He makes the catch. A foul ball.
Catcher.
One man out, and Andy Etchebarren coming up now. He's grounded into a force play and grounded out second to first. The outfield defense shades him to go to the opposite field. Mark Belanger's on deck. Fouled off the end of the bat. Strike one. Swung himself out from underneath the helmet. There you can see Agee out in center, shaded over toward right. And right fielder Swoboda moved toward the line against the right-hand batter. The only concession that manager Earl Weaver makes to platooning is that of Etchebarren and Elrod Hendricks. Foul off and back into the seats out of play, and the count goes to 2 strikes to Andy Etchebarren. He bats number 7 in Earl Weaver's Baltimore batting order. The Birds want to win this one and take the World Series back to Baltimore, where they'd need only a winning streak of 2 games in their home park to clinch the World's Championship. Swing and a miss. Koosman gets his 5th strikeout of the day. 2 men out, nobody on base, and Mark Belanger's coming up. Singled and later scored in the 3rd inning. He was on base when McNally hit his homer, and Belanger flied out to right in the 5th inning.
Koosman now has retired 12 of the last 13.
Swing and a miss, a strike one. The Mets also expect Belanger to take that ball to the opposite field. That's zipped in a little low, and it's 1-1. Orioles got all 3 runs in the 3rd inning. That's McNally on deck. He hit a 2-run homer, and then with 2 men out, Frank Robinson hit a home run. Foul back and out of play. 1-2 is the count. The Orioles 3 runs, 5 hits. That's Tom Seaver come out of the Met dugout there to take a look around. The Mets keep Tug McGraw throwing down in their bullpen. Here's a 1-2 pitch, and it's hit on the ground to short. Big hop up to Bud Harrelson. Guns across to Clendon, and Belanger's out. The sides retire. No runs, no hits, no errors, none left. And in the middle of the 7th inning, the score is Baltimore 3 and the Mets 2. Down to Tony Kubek.
With me, the famous band leader and pianist, Peter Duchin. Peter, how you enjoying the series?
Oh, it's fantastic. I just hope we can get one more run, and quick. I'd rather not have to sweat it.
You are a Mets fan, then.
I sure am, absolutely.
Peter Duchin, thank you so much. Right
Thank
now,
you, Tony.
let's go back upstairs.
All right, it's Al Weiss leading off for the Mets. Koosman bats second in the order here in this inning, and McGraw is throwing in the bullpen. The pitch to Weiss is in for a called strike. Weiss has lined out to short and grounded out short to first so far today. Facing Dave McNally. That's a fly ball to deep left, and Buford breaks back now, and it's going, and it is gone for a home run for Al Weiss. And the score is tied at 3-3. Koosman in the ball game. So the score is tied, 3-3. Koosman comes up with nobody on and nobody out, and the Met fans are happy. Swing and a miss. It's strike one. That is Dick Hall up and throwing. Dick Hall throwing in the bullpen. Low for a ball. It's 1-1.
As you know, Lindsay, Weiss hit only 2 home runs all year. Came on successive days in July. And now one in the World Series.
Swing and a miss. And as we noted before, in his major league career, Weiss had hit only 6, but one of those 6 had been off Dave McNally. And it was his base hit off McNally Sunday that won the ball game for the New York Mets. McNally strikes out Koosman for his 6th strikeout of the day. That brings up Tommy Agee. Agee today walked, stole second base in the first inning, flied to center, and bunted his way on in the 5th when Brooks Robinson tried the barehand play with 2 men out. It did not come off, and Agee was credited with a base hit. The chant is Agee. Alley pitches in for a called strike. Mets are batting in the bottom half of the 7th inning, and the score is tied at 3-3. Swing and a miss. It's strike 2. While the Orioles want to take this series back to Baltimore, the Mets, of course, want to end it right here today with the Mets as champions of the world. That's Harrelson on deck. Nancy Seaver. 2-strike delivery way outside. It's 1-2. Agee's followed in the order by Bud Harrelson. There's nobody on base. There's 1 man out. Agee, formerly of Grambling College. Ground ball foul back at 3rd. 1-2. Earl Weaver, manager of the Orioles. Bowie Kuhn, commissioner of baseball, Joe DiMaggio. One-two pitch. Foul back, it's out of play, and the count holds at 1-2. A crowd of more than 57,000 fans here again today at Shea Stadium. McNally's 1-2 pitch. Foul off, out of play. The lower field boxes. The count continues at 1 ball and 2 strikes. Outside, and the count goes to 2-2. He stays alive at 2-2. So now, with nobody on base and 1 man out, it'll be a payoff pitch to Tommy Agee from McNally, who has struck out 6 and walked 2. 3-2 delivery. It is popped up to the right side, and Frank Robinson drifts over, puts it away. There are 2 men out. Bud Harrelson is coming up for the Mets. He has struck out, and flied to center. It's 1-0 now to Harrelson. Leon Jones having the swing on deck. Oh, McNally goes behind 2-0. He was posted to a 3-run lead, and he has seen the Mets come back to get 2 in the 6th and 1 in the 7th, so it's all even at 3 runs each. 2-0 delivery. Low, and he goes behind 3-0 now to Harrelson. Eddie Yost is the sign man at third. Eddie Yost, who played in Washington for many years, but was born in Brooklyn and has a master's degree from NYU. Lives now on Long Island. 3-0 pitch. He was taking all the way, and it's in for a called strike one. 3-1. Eddie Yost was never with the first place ball club until 1962. A few days with the Los Angeles Angels. Swing and a miss, and it's 3-2. So again, McNally has gone full to the number 2 man in the Met batting order. Here's the payoff pitch. And it is slammed to Robinson, who makes the catch of the line drive for the out at third base. He was guarding the line. The side is retired. 1 run on 1 hit. No errors and none left. At the end of 7 full innings of play, the score is the Mets 3 and Baltimore 3.
Weakest defensive player. We pause now for station identification.
Curt Moulton, Lindsay. Curt Moulton.
Yeah, right, Curt Moulton.
Your attention, please. Ladies and gentlemen, for Baltimore, batting for McNally, number 21, Curt Moulton, number 21.
And now Curt Moulton is up to bat for McNally. Sends a ground ball to deep short, taken by Harrelson. Throws to first, and Curt Moulton is out on the first pitch of the 8th inning. That's Eddie Watt throwing in the bullpen. Eddie Watt throwing in the bullpen. 1 man out, nobody on base. McNally is out of the ballgame now for that pinch hitter, having hurled 7 innings in which he gave up 3 runs on 5 hits. He struck out 6 and he walked 2. Now it's Don Buford up, top of the batting order. He's grounded out, and flied out to right on a long running catch by Ron Swoboda. That's on away for a ball. Paul Blair is on deck for the Orioles. Score tied 3-3. The hits are all even at 5 each. Fly ball to center field, and A.G. ranges back now, pounds the glove, and he makes the catch. As we noted once before, A.G. has so many of the mannerisms of Willie Mays. It's not by accident. They're both from the state of Alabama, but strangely enough, they never met until A.G. came over from the American League to the Mets last year, and they played the San Francisco Giants on opening day, and it's the first time that A.G. ever met Mays. Paul Blair is up. By to center, struck out swinging, lined out to center field. Low breaking pitch. Took a lot off that one. Low out of the strike zone. It's ball 1. Frank Robinson's on deck. That is a long foul ball down to the left field corner off the facade of the mezzanine deck, which is over the press deck, right up there. Off that facade, right there. The thin deck is the press deck. Loges below and the mezzanine above. 1-1 to count to Blair. It's high. 2-1. Paul Blair was the property of the New York Mets in 1962 in the Instructional League. He and Cleon Jones were roommates. 2-1 pitch. High and away. So now Koosman goes behind. 3-1 to Blair with Frank Robinson on deck. You can see Ed Charles there guarding the line, trying to protect against the extra base hit right here. 3-1 delivery. And it's deep short. It'll be a long throw for Harrelson, and in time. What a play by Harrelson, and the side is out in order. It's no runs, no hits, no errors, and none left. And in the middle of the 8th inning, the score is the Mets 3 and the Orioles 3. Lou? This is Lindsay. What do you think? You want me to stay here, go down, or what do I do? All right. You let me know, huh? Right. Down to Tony Kubek.
Thank you, Lindsay. With me, one of our country's great statesmen, a man who has devoted his life serving our country, Mr. Averill Harriman, and quite a baseball fan also. How are you enjoying the series, sir?
Well, very much. I think that last play by Harrelson looked like one of those plays you used to make all the time.
You are a great Yankee fan. You remember my playing days.
Sure I was. When you were playing your best, the Yankees were a great team.
What about the defensive play in this ballgame? That's been one great defensive play, but gee, Swoboda the other day, and of course Agee, they've just been fantastic.
They are fantastic. I think that Agee dive looked like one of the best catches I've ever seen. I heard that Hodges said it was the best catch that he'd seen in the All-Series matches. I don't know whether that's the World Series matches. I don't know if that's true or not. It's the best I ever saw.
Mr. Averill Harriman, nice seeing you here at the World Series. Thank you so much, sir.
Well, let's hope it's 3-all, and we're all rooting for that final run for the Mets.
Mr. Averill Harriman, thank you so much. Now let's go on upstairs.
All right, Tony Kubek. It's Eddie Watt in to do the pitching now for the Orioles. He pitched 2 scoreless innings yesterday, in which he allowed only 2 hits. 1-5, lost 2 during the regular season with an earned run average of 1.65. And Eddie Watt was credited with 16 saves during the regular season. He led the Orioles in games. He was in 56. Cleon Jones will lead off for the Mets coming up here in the bottom half of the 8th inning. So the Mets will make a bid to go ahead in the bottom half of the 8th with Cleon Jones, Don Clendenin, and Ron Swoboda, the heart of the batting order, scheduled up here. The Orioles have gone now to a right-hander so that Gil Hodges will have some of his left-hand batters loosening up a little bit in the dugout. He has the platoon left-hand batters available. Low and away for a ball.
Weaver must have decided McNally was tiring. He gave up a 2-run homer in the 6th, a homer in the 7th, and Harrelson, the last man up in the 7th, lined out hard.
1-0 pitch, and it's low for a ball. We don't have a count, but McNally had thrown a lot of pitches for the time he had been in the ball game, as he went 3-2 on 3 batters in the very first inning of the ball game. Now Eddie Watt has gone behind to Cleon Jones, 2-0, with Don Clendenin waiting on deck. That's 3-0 now to Cleon Jones, and the Mets want a base runner. The Mets fans want a base runner. They Dave Leonard's up and throwing again in the bullpen now for the Orioles. The right-hander Dave Leonard. 3-0 pitch. He was taking all the way, and it's in for a called strike. 3-1. That's Leonard now up and throwing. Score is tied 3-3. Mets are batting in the bottom of the 8th. 3-1 delivery to Jones. Swung on and hit in the air to center field, and Blair's going back. It's going, and it is off the wall in play. And Jones is standing up at second with a double.
Jones, who has power to all fields, more of a line drive hitter. Don Clendenin, who's coming up now, has a chance to tie a World Series record. He's hit 3 homers in this series. The record is 4, held by Lou Gehrig, who did it in a 4-game series, Babe Ruth, Duke Snider twice, and Hank Bauer, who hit 4 homers in a 7-game series. Clendenin's hit 3 here in this, the 5th game so far.
So Clendenin, who has walked, struck out, and homered, is up there now. That double of Jones hit about halfway up the wall, just to the center field side of the 396 sign. Eddie Watt, the ball is bunted foul. Gil Hodges putting on the bunt sign. We pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television network. This is Lindsay Nelson with Curt Gowdy and Tony Kubek at Shea Stadium in New York. Clendenin given a little direct communication by third base coach Eddie Yost now. Tried to bunt the first pitch and fouled it off for strike one. Trying to move the potential winning run from second over to third. There is nobody out. Swoboda is waiting on deck. Squares again, bunts the ball foul back into the seats and out of play. So twice they've tried to move the runner over, and twice it's been fouled off.
You know, Lindsay, Blair really played that carom off the wall perfectly. He got a bad carom there angling away from him. Jones might have had a triple.
He did. He played it just as perfectly as it could have been as he turned, didn't charge it so that it could come off the wall past him. He waited for it. Count has gone to 2 strikes to Clendenin. Struck him out. Fouled it off. He's still alive. Bunt was taken off. He was swinging away and just got a little of the bat on the ball to stay alive with a 2-strike count. It was a 2-2 pitch that he hit for the home run in the bottom half of the 6th inning that provided the Mets with their first 2 runs of the ball game. This will be a 2-strike delivery. And it's down the line and right. If it stays fair, it'll score a run, and it is a foul ball. A foul ball down to the right field corner. So that brings Jones back to second and Clendenin back to the plate. The count holds at 2 strikes. That had the fans up on their feet all around the ballpark, right down the right field line, sliced foul. So Eddie Watt takes a little breather, rubbing up the new ball. The Orioles 3 runs, 5 hits, no errors. The Mets 3 runs, 6 hits, no errors. Strike pitch. Hit on the ground to third. Brooks Robinson up and throwing, and in time, no advance. Jones holds at second. So there's 1 away, and Ron Swoboda is coming up.
The ball took a tricky little hop just before Robinson went to field it.
Pete Rickard and Dick Hall are throwing in the bullpen now for the Orioles. Rickard, a left-hander. Hall, a right-hander. Swoboda is 1 for 3 today. That's Hall over near the wall. Rickard, the left-hander. Swoboda has had 5 hits in this World Series. Nobody has had more. Breaking pitch missed outside, and it's ball 1. John Jones at second base with one man out. Breaking pitch is hit in the air down the left field line. Buford is racing over, and he can't get it. He short-hopped it. Jones is coming home. There'll be no play at the plate. He scores, and Swoboda goes to second on the throw. The Mets are leading by a score of 4-3. Ron Swoboda. Look at it again now. Watch Don Buford.
Buford gives this a real try. Can't get to it. Traps it. And desperately throws the ball in on the throw to the plate. Here's the swing by Ron Swoboda, who comes up with his second hit of the game. Right in there to him. So the Mets have scored 2 in the 6th, 1 in the 7th, and now have gone ahead with 1 in the 8th.
Now it's Ed Charles coming up. Chopper, that's in foul territory, and it's ball 1. Ron Swoboda at second base. Count of strike 1 to Ed Charles, with the Mets leading by a score of 4-3 in the bottom half of the 8th inning. It's high and tight. We'll check the official scoring on Swoboda's hit. Hammett foul on the ground. We'll check to see whether it is a single and a run batted in, or whether it is a double and a run batted in, with his question of whether or not he took second on the throw. 1 and 2 the count now to Ed Charles. Scored as a double and a run batted in for Ron Swoboda. His second hit of the ball game. This will be a 1-2 pitch now to Charles. Breaks low, and it's even at 2-2. Charles is followed in the batting order by Jerry Gowdy. Be a 2-2 pitch. And it's hit in the air to left field, and Don Buford moves up now. He's underneath. Buford makes the catch, and Swoboda holds. There are 2 men out. Jerry Gowdy will be the Met batter. The Mets are leading by 1 run in the bottom of the 8th. If you'd like to look ahead to the top half of the 9th inning, the Orioles will be sending up the heart of the power of their batting order. Frank Robinson, Boog Powell, and Brooks Robinson coming up for the Orioles in the 9th inning, so don't go away. Gowdy flied to center, grounded into a force play, and grounded out short to first. Breaking pitch is high, and it's ball 1. It's 1-1 to Gowdy with 2 men out and a runner at second. Ron Swoboda, who delivered a double to drive in the go-ahead run. Jerry Gowdy, Gil Hodges, alongside pitching coach Rube Walker. Watt has walked off to the grass of the infield there so that he can work on the baseball a little bit and go to his mouth without penalty. The Mets 4 runs, 7 hits. The Orioles 3 runs, 5 hits. Game number 5 of the 1969 World Series at Shea Stadium in New York. This is a 1-1 pitch. And it is hit to first base off the glove of Boog Powell. And now he is safe. And here comes Swoboda to the plate. He scored. Eddie Watt coming over to cover was behind the runner. And Powell tried to toss it to him. He's safe at first. A run batted in, and the Mets lead by a score of 5-3. Earl Weaver his pitching coach.
This ball really hit like a rocket down the first baseline. Powell couldn't find the handle, wanted to scramble to the bag himself, saw he couldn't make it. Watts late coming off the mound, and the Mets now have a 2-run lead.
Crossing the plate, back to live action. Al Weiss is up now. There's an error charged on the pitcher. Here's a swing and a foul ball back and out of play, and it's strike one. On the scoreboard, the sign was flashed that the error was charged on the pitcher. We'll check that. It's an error first base and an error pitcher. Error on Boog Powell for allowing the runner to reach first, and an error on the pitcher for allowing the run to score. 2 errors charged on the play. One on Powell, one on Watt. And the Mets are leading by a score of 5-3. Foul back and out of play. 2-strike count. Al Weiss up there, the mighty Mite, has 5 hits in the World Series, including a home run today that tied the score. Who would ever have thought that Al Weiss would be the hitting star for the New York Mets? One of the great glove men, made a great contribution all year long. Strike delivery. Breaking pitch in there for a called strike to strike him out. Second one for Watt. The side is retired. So the New York Mets picked up 2 runs on 2 hits. There were 2 errors and 1 man left. And at the end of 8 full innings of play, the score is the New York Mets 5 and the Baltimore Orioles 3. This is Curt Gowdy. Lindsay Nelson is headed to the New York Met dressing room. In case this series is over today, we'll have the celebration in the Met dressing room. Earl Weaver and Hodges now looking on for the 9th. It's Frank Robinson, Boog Powell, and Brooks Robinson, the middle of the Oriole batting order. Jerry Koosman, since he gave up 3 runs in the 3rd, has shut out the Orioles, has retired 16 of the last 17 batters, and has set down 7 in a row. Robinson is flying to right, homered in the 3rd, struck out in the 6th. Ball 1 and a curve. 5 runs, 7 hits for the Mets. 3 runs, 5 hits for the Orioles. Boog Powell on deck. If the Mets do hold on to this lead, it'll be hard to pick out their hero. They've had so many of them. One of them right there, Don Clendenin, Tommy Agee, Ron Swoboda, Al Weiss, their pitchers. McGraw and Taylor, McGraw a left-hander, Taylor a right-hander, are in the Met bullpen in case Koosman weakened. Powell getting ready to come up next. Fastball for a strike. The Mets, who lost 89 games last year, finished 9th, are 3 outs away now being the world champions. That's the Met bullpen. Ball 3, 3-1 to Frank Robinson.
He walked him. And the Orioles now have the tying run at the plate. That is the first walk given up by Jerry Koosman in the game. Powell is fly to left, struck out, single to left. Brooks Robinson on deck. 5-3, Mets leading top of the ninth. Strike one. The Mets have had an almost incredible surge. They won 38 of their last 49 games in the regular season. Defeated the Braves 3 in a row in the National League Championship Series. Brooks Robinson on deck. And after losing the opener to Baltimore, have come back to win 3 in a row here. One and one. And here at Shea Stadium, they have won 28 of their last 33 games they played. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ball 2 to Boot Powell, 2 and 1. Frank Robinson at first, nobody out. Bounding ball to second. The throw is for 1. Robinson going in hard, trying to take Harrelson out. They're booing him, but that's the way he should run the bases. Powell on first, 1 down. Brooks Robinson is grounded to short, flying to center, flying to left. We're going to have a runner for Boot Powell.
Your attention, please. Ladies and gentlemen from Baltimore, at first base.
Chico Simone.
Chico.
So it's Simone on first now, 1 out here in the ninth. A strike to Robinson. Powell's had the only hit. There's Dave Johnson on deck. Powell's had the only hit off Koosman since the 3rd. Strike 2. 0-0 and 2. If there's one word that can describe this Met team, it's inspired. No balls, 2 strikes. Curve is hit in the air in the shallow right. Ron Swoboda waiting, 2 down. And if they get one more out here, you're going to see one of the doggone sights you've ever seen in sports here in this stadium and in this Met dressing room. So it's up to Dave Johnson now to save the Orioles. He's had 1 hit in 3 times. A ball to him. Orioles led 3-0 going to the 6th. That's a Barron on deck. Mets scored twice in the 6th, once in the 7th, and 2 in the 8th. A strike, 1 and 1. The Met fans now, over 57,000, roaring in every pitch. Jerry Koosman of Morse, Minnesota. Outside with his breaking pitch, 2 and 1. Beat the Orioles Sunday 2-1. Leading right now 5-3 with 2 down. Simone on first. The 2-1 pitch. There's There's a fly ball hit out to left. Waiting is Jones. The Mets are the world champions. Jerry Koosman being mobbed. Look at this scene. Ballpark apart when the Mets clinched their division pennant against the Cardinals. Here's the Met locker room. The Mets had 5 runs, 7 hits, no errors. The Orioles 3 runs, 5 hits, 2 errors. Sport Magazine has declared Don Clendenon as the outstanding player of the series. And he wins himself a new Dodge. And it was a come-from-behind victory for the Mets today. They were trailing 3-0. Stay tuned now for a recap, the celebration of the new world champions of baseball, the New York Mets. The final score, New York, 5 runs, 7 hits, and no errors. Baltimore, 3 runs, 5 hits, and 2 errors.
Can you get Gil? Harold?
Yeah.
Harold, can you get Gil? Gil. Hey, come on, John. Gil.
Can't hear you, Lou. Okay. The bedlam continues on the field here at Shea Stadium, and there's also bedlam in the Met clubhouse, and let's switch down now to Lindsay Nelson.
All right, and here in the clubhouse, it's bedlam, too, as Mrs. Joan Payson, the principal owner of the New York Mets, is here. Congratulations.
This is yours, Gil, isn't it?
And the commissioner of baseball, Mr. Bowie Cohn, is here.
Lindsay, this is my most proud moment as commissioner. This is my opportunity to present to Mrs. Payson and to Gil Hodges, who are the 2 most responsible people for this team of destiny, for its accomplishment as world champion. I cannot tell you how proud I am of you, Mrs. Payson, Gil, of you, of your ball players. Every one of them made a contribution to this, every last one of them. And they can be proud of this because in beating the Baltimore Orioles, they beat the best darn ball club around they could beat. And I'm very proud of them. This then goes to the Mets.
Bowie Cohn committing the commissioner now presenting this trophy to Johnny Murphy, the general manager, to Mrs. Payson, and to Gil Hodges. Step up here, Gil. We want to get a good look at you. It's a long step down, isn't it?
Beautiful, beautiful. And,
what do you have to say about this?
Well, first of all, I would just thank the commissioner for this beautiful trophy, and certainly thank my immediate boss, Mr. John Murphy, and just all the New York Mets, Mrs. Payson, Mr. Grant, and all the directors, and certainly all the wonderful players that we had this year. They've done such an outstanding job, and we must not forget all the beautiful fans that we had in Shea Stadium all year long. It's just been a great year, and thank God it's over now.
It is indeed. John Murphy, the general manager.
Well, Lindsay, this is the happiest day of my life. I think Gil did a great job for us.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much for presenting the trophy, and I think we'd better remove this to a safer place with a little help, because we're going to have a few things going up here. Here is... Just behind you, Commissioner, is Don Grant, the chairman of the board of the Mets.
Thank you very much. Thank our fans. We've been very lucky, and we thank the man up above.
Don, what is that dripping off of you, Don?
That's a little champagne. I get it in my ear, but never in my mouth.
And the president of the National League, Mr. Warren Giles, who will be retiring after this season. Warren, you picked a great season to go out on.
This is the greatest thing that's happened to baseball, the greatest thing that's happened to the National League, and the greatest thing that's happened to me.
Wonderful.
Last year.
Wonderful. And you sound like you really believe it. And here's Mrs. Gil Hodges. Hello, Joan. She was here. He was here.
See, oh, I just can't believe it. It's been a year of miracles, and it's marvelous. Really, really
It
marvelous.
is indeed. And Herb Walker, the executive vice president.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable, Nelson.
And now we're going to try to get some of the Mets up here. Here we are, Jerry Koosman right behind me.
Great, Jerry. Just terrific.
Jerry, tell me first about that double that you ripped out there early in the ball.
Oh, you really hit, Koozie. I always told him I was the hitter, Lindsay. I always told him.
You've been saying that, and Jerry Gowdy right there.
Yes, sir. He can do it all, Lindsay. He can do it all.
And right here behind us.
Yes, sir.
Is Miss. Well, I'll tell you. I was going to say happy birthday to Mr. Pacer. Let's get Don Clendenin up here. Don, what did you hit on the 2-2 pitch?
I think it was a slider. I'm not sure. Slider or curveball.
Didn't really care, did you?
No, I didn't really care.
Don, you had a great World Series.
Thank you very much. I would like to have done better. But like I told everybody from the very inception that we're a great ball club. We proved it. Baltimore was overconfident, but we proved that we're a great ball club.
I think Mr. Payson has something to say to you.
I have this.
Thank you, sir.
I have this to say to the whole team. Today happens to be my birthday, and who could have a better birthday present than these boys gave me today?
Quite a present, it is indeed. Don, when you came down from Montreal, people were wondering how long you were going to continue to play baseball. What do you say now? The season's over.
Well, I have a 2-year contract. I will honor my contractual obligations, and I will play as long as I think New York can need my services, as long as I can do an adequate major league job.
Certainly, we'll be looking forward to seeing you next season when we start all over. Don Clendenin. Let's get Tom Seaver over here. Tommy, gotta be a big thrill.
Oh, the biggest ever. I tell you that you believe in this. Look at one of my bobos right here.
Leon Jones.
Beautiful.
Leon
Just
Jones.
beautiful.
Just ripped that one pretty good there off the wall out in left center.
Well, Lindsay, this is the same ball club that been blown on the same field with the Baltimore Orioles, but we beat them. We showed them what we had, what type of ball club we had been all year, and we're number one.
They thought they were going to run us right off the field, and we come to play. This is a club that played this way all year long. We came from behind. We did it today, and you can't say too much for this.
Now tell me, I want to ask both of you. Tell me sincerely, because I want to ask you this question. You're down 3 runs. What kind of feeling did you have at that time about your prospects of winning the ball game?
We built it up all year long. It's been like that, Lindsay. No matter what happened, no matter where we were down 6-0, and Pittsburgh came back and won that ball game because we never put our heads between our legs, and we always fought, and it's the greatest feeling in the world.
Well, Lindsay, we're the type of ball club that scored late all during the year. We never give up. This is why we're here. We get behind 3 or 4 runs in the latter part of the ball game, we come back.
Congratulations to both of you. You both had a great year. We'll be back here in a moment. Again, the final score was the Mets 5, the Orioles 3. In a moment, we'll continue to review the events of today's game.
We want a picture right here. They got a picture right here.
Yes, sir. We'll be back here in just a minute. Come on up. Come on up. Come on up. That a boy. We'll be back in just a minute.
I'll give you the ball.
We'll be back in.
We're the one, Josie. One. Number one.
Boy. We'll be back here in just a minute. Stay right here.
No, I don't.
Stay right here. Stay right here. I want to talk to you.
Bunch of bitches, man.
Be back here in about a half a minute. Stay right where you are. Hello, boy. Good. We're in commercial right now.
We're number one.
Thank you.
I'll give him a kiss. Beautiful. You know what, Tommy? You smell like a horse.
We're in the clubhouse of the world champion New York Mets, and it has a certain ring to it. We have Tommy Agee here, Ron Swoboda, Cleon Jones, and the mayor of the city of New York is about to make an entry here. Mayor Lindsay's coming up. What do you have to say to the Mets, Mayor?
Oh, God, it's going to be the biggest celebration New York ever saw. We're proud of you. What a lovely team.
What did the New York Mets in this summer mean to the city of New York?
Gave us the biggest lift that we've had in 1,000 years. Beautiful job.
Tell them you're going to give them a day Monday.
It's going to be a big day on Monday. Big celebration in the whole city. The biggest you ever saw. It's going to be tremendous.
The mayor of New York saying that Monday's going to be sort of a Met day here in New York. So get all ready for it. Did you enjoy the ball game?
It's the best game I ever saw in my life. Never been happier.
Marvelous. Mayor Lindsay of the city of New York. Tommy, you had a marvelous year and a marvelous World Series.
Thank you very much, Lindsay. We were kind of up for the series. We knew we could beat Baltimore. And when they were talking so much, it gave us that much incentive to win. They were talking so much, they forgot to play.
Right. Ron Swoboda was the last base hit, the biggest one you ever got in your life.
Well, we've come so far so fast. I think nothing can really be said. You know it, Lindsay. You know it because it brought us here. It was only one of the things. There were so many things.
Ron, you got the magic glove back. You got it all back.
He can pick it.
He can pick it. Can he pick it?
There's my buddy.
There he is, Rod Gasper, with a little something for the mayor here, and he's going to return the favor. It's fair enough. Come on, Ed Charles. Ed Charles, come up here. Let's get the glider up here. Ed, you've been in professional baseball.
Somebody threw in some cheap
We're number one, Lindsay. It's a wonderful feeling. Wonderful feeling.
And you were saying back in August when October rolls around.
When October rolls around, the Mets will wear the crown. East side, west side. How about that, huh?
Lindsay, what'd I say? I said we won 4 straight, didn't I?
That's what
Four straight, and we did it.
Well, you won 4 straight after you lost that first one. That's true. Buddy Harrelson over here. Bud, you had a great World Series and a great season.
Thank you very much. I think it was a team effort today, as it has been all year. Once or twice, one individual would stand out, but overall, I think today was an example of our game, of a team effort and fighting back, never quitting on the bench, and just a great year, a great team, and I'm glad to be here.
Are you staying in New York now for the winter?
Yes, I live here in New York, and I'm looking forward to this World Series rubbing off financially.
Right. But here we are. Al Weiss, the mighty might who suddenly found all the power in the world.
I was just trying to hit a single that time. Leadoff hit. I was just trying to hit a single, and it just went out.
Well, how is it now? You hit a home run off McNally once some years ago.
Yeah, I got him in my book twice now, and this is the biggest one.
Had to be a great thrill.
Oh, I can't explain what was happening to me going around the bases. I was so overjoyed I couldn't laugh. I couldn't keep a straight face. You know, I don't know what I did. You know.
A lot of things were happening to a lot of people about that time.
Oh, it's really great. You know, the whole team is just a great team effort, and it's been a wonderful year.
All right, we're here in the dressing room, and we'll be back with more about the 1960s.
In a can-do time, the Mets did something that was, I think, beyond anybody's imaginations. Because you look at it, there was no prelude to the '69 Mets and that championship, and there was no prologue. I mean, it was just that.
I had someone ask me last night if really we were as close as we say, and we truly were. I mean, we not only knew each other well, but we knew each other's families well. And Gil Hodges had one set of rules. There wasn't 2 sets of rules. So we all had to abide by those rules, which is a way of drawing teammates together.
From day one, spring training, I think Gil Hodges had a plan. I don't think Tom Seaver, Jerry Koosman, or Tommy Agee, or Clint Denton, or Cleon Jones had a plan. We had no plan. Our plan was to come to the ballpark every day, play, and try to be better. In most cases, the player makes the manager. In this case, the manager made the players. He made each and every one of us better.
It wasn't a miracle. You don't win 100 ball games with miracles. It takes some ball playing to win 100 ball games. And we did. We have and had a charisma about us, about the team after we won. We look back on it now and we see that the 69 Mets are as popular as any baseball team has ever been. My Lord, that's saying something. That's saying a major thing.
It's a dream. It's more than a dream come true. It's something that every boy from 7 years of age, up to manhood, in his wildest dream, he couldn't come up with a scenario to fit this.
I think it was in a classic case of the underdog. That's one of the reasons why it has become was and still is a popular team. The underdog, the club that could never win, be good enough, too young, whatever the reasons. And, as a young group of guys came together and played very well, pitched well, played great defense, got enough runs, obviously, and beat the club that everybody said would win, the Baltimore Orioles. I think it's the classic underdog syndrome, and it's been a dear part of my life for 30 years.
It was one of the most memorable and exciting seasons our national game has ever known. A season in which the New York Mets brought the entire nation to its feet cheering. Indeed, the Mets' drive to the World Championship in 1969 lifted the spirits of the entire country. And it came at a time when America sorely needed its spirits lifted. Like Babe Ruth's called home run, Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak, Jackie Robinson's breaking of the color line, and Bobby Thompson's shot heard round the world. The saga of the 1969 world champion New York Mets transcends the boundaries of baseball history and holds a special and lasting place in American folklore. Their timing couldn't have been better. As one of the most violent and turbulent decades in modern American history came to an end, an era that shook the nation to its very foundations and left deep scars across the face of the country, the Mets brought people together as perhaps nothing else could. As underdogs, the Mets appeal to a basic instinct in the American character. America loves an underdog. And the 1969 Mets were the most underdog in the history of our national game. As 100-to-1 shots to go all the way, their heroics on the ball field in many ways overshadowed America's landing on the moon. Indeed, Neil Armstrong's lunar stroll may have been a giant leap for mankind, but the Mets' victory was a triumph for the common man, the very heart and soul of America. Perhaps never before in the annals of American sports history did a team lift the spirit of a nation as did the Mets in 1969. That year, from Boston to Los Angeles, from Bangor to Seattle, from Detroit to Baton Rouge, America was a Mets fan. And behind all the excitement and drama of the 1969 Mets stood one man, their leader and manager, Gil Hodges. He had molded the team and gotten the best from each man. He had steadied them and made them believe in themselves. And he led them to one of the most inspiring and exciting world championships in baseball history. After the 1957 baseball season, the Brooklyn Dodgers and the New York Giants left New York for California. A golden era in baseball history came to an end. For the first time in the annals of the professional game, the city of New York did not have a National League team. Then, in 1961, the National League expanded, with new franchises in Houston and New York. Both teams to begin play in 1962. The New York Mets were born. The first manager of the Mets was the legendary and incomparable Casey Stengel. After managing the New York Yankees to numerous pennants and world championships in the late 40s and throughout the 1950s, Stengel could not have imagined in his worst nightmare what he would face as the manager of the 1962 expansion New York Mets. As with any expansion team, the original Mets were composed of cast-offs, over-the-hill veterans, and players who did not belong in the major leagues. The original Mets, however, reached unprecedented heights of incompetence in their inaugural season. They were, perhaps, the worst team in modern baseball history, losing the staggering total of 120 games while winning only 40. Their pitching and hitting were absolutely horrendous, and the defense was even worse. This team had a unique propensity for snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. If there was a way to lose a baseball game, the Mets found it. In fact, many people who witnessed that first season will swear to the fact that the amazing Mets indeed found heretofore unknown ways to lose. The team's management knew that the first few seasons would be losing ones, so they tried to give the fans what they wanted. Of course, it was a brilliant public relations move bringing in Casey Stengel to manage the team. His wit and wisdom made all the losing bearable. The old professor exhibited remarkable patience with his horrendous team. Still, there were times when even Casey reached his wit's end. At one point late in the season, Stengel looked down his bench at his team and mumbled to himself, "Can anybody here play this game?"
My opening night in the Major League, Sandy Koufax pitched a no-hitter and struck out 18 New York Mets, and I knew it was going to be a long, tough career. But I joined the club later on that year in September with Casey, and we had a lot of fun. I enjoyed playing for him. Might have took me a few years to understand what he was telling us, but we had a lot of older players, idols from the New York Mets fans. So our guys were really at the twilight of great careers, but on the downside.
It was a travesty. There were no more Major League teams, and there were better AAA teams playing at the time than they were. But traveling with the Mets in '62, the best way I can describe it, it was like traveling with a circus. There was a ringmaster, Casey Stengel, a bunch of clowns, and the fans in every town were glad to see us because it usually meant 2 or 3 wins when you got there.
My first year up to the big leagues was in the Polo Ground, and all we talked about in the clubhouse that time, the guys who were on the disabled list, who was going to go into the trainer's room and lay on the training table the longest, and that kind of thing, and who was going to screw up to lose a ball game that particular day.
In the expansion draft, the Mets front office obtained as many National League veterans as they could, knowing these players would be familiar to the fans. Players such as Charlie Neal, Richie Ashburn, Frank Thomas, and Roger Craig. Unfortunately, whatever skills and abilities these players brought to the team were offset by the incompetence of the players that surrounded them. Unquestionably, the symbol of the 1962 Mets was Marvelous Marv Throneberry. A product of the Yankee organization, Throneberry was a left-handed hitting first baseman with decent power. His problem stemmed from the fact that Marvelous Marv had difficulty catching a baseball that was either thrown or hit at him. This can be a very serious flaw to a fella trying to play first base in the major leagues. Another player the expansion Mets obtained that first season was the beloved first baseman of the old Brooklyn Dodgers, Gil Hodges. Few players in New York baseball history were as beloved as Hodges. Hodges hit the first home run in Mets history. But at this time, Gil was 38 years old and at the end of his career. With the start of the 1963 season, Hodges retired and moved on to manage the Washington Senators of the American League. He would, however, come back to New York a few years later and lead the Mets to the promised land. Although the 1962 Mets were incredibly bad and lost a record number of games, they were also enormously popular. Fans across the nation embraced these lovable losers. They were the clown princes of Major League Baseball. Playing in the old Polo Grounds in their inaugural season, the amazing Mets drew close to 1 million fans. It seems that the fans didn't care that the team found new and previously unknown ways to lose ball games. They were just happy to have National League Baseball back in New York. In the 5 seasons following the 1962 campaign, the New York Mets firmly established their place as baseball's most entertaining and lovable losers. They were not quite as bad as they were in 1962, but they were nonetheless the worst team in baseball. The team finished last in 1963, 64, and 65. The Mets moved into their new home, Shea Stadium, in 1964, and Casey Stengel retired in 1965. Wes Westrom, the old New York Giant catcher, took over as skipper. In 1966, they reached the dizzying heights of 9th place in a 10-team league, but dropped back into the cellar in 1967. During this entire time, however, the organization was signing talented young players and developing them in the minor leagues. Youngsters such as Bud Harrelson, Cleon Jones, Jerry Koosman, Nolan Ryan, Gary Gentry, and a pitcher named Tom Seaver were moving up in the Mets farm system. The team needed a manager who could mold this group into a winning team. Manager Wes Westrom resigned late in the 1967 season, and in a trade with the Washington Senators that winter, the Mets obtained Gil Hodges to manage the club. When Hodges came back to New York, the Mets became serious. As the power-hitting first baseman for the beloved and legendary Brooklyn Dodgers of the 1950s, Gil Hodges fashioned an excellent career. Across 18 Major League seasons, he hit a solid .273 and blasted 370 home runs. He was also one of the greatest defensive first basemen in the game's history and was selected to the National League All-Star team 8 times. In 1955, when the Brooklyn Dodgers finally beat the Yankees in a World Series to win their one and only World Championship while in Brooklyn, it was Gil Hodges who knocked in both runs in Brooklyn's 2-0 victory in the 7th game. Gil Hodges was also a man of great character, dignity, and courage. Although he was a very large and powerful man, it was inner strength that motivated the big first baseman. He was a man of high ideals. He held a special place in the hearts of fans and players alike. In many ways, he typified the American hero of a bygone era, a man of action and few words. He took everything in stride with humility, grace, modesty, and dignity. After his retirement as a player in 1963, Gil went on to manage the Washington Senators. Taking over a last-place team, Gil moved them up in the standings from last place to 6th place in 4 years. The Senators didn't have the talent to compete with many of the better teams in the league, but under Hodges, they played sound, fundamental baseball and always gave 100%. After the 1967 season, Hodges came home to manage the Mets. During the 1968 campaign, Hodges spent much time assessing the talent on the ball club and analyzing what was needed to make the team a contender. Indeed, the Mets had a solid core of good young players. It was obvious the team was improving tremendously under the strong and steady leadership of Gil Hodges. In 1968, they would win 73 games, by far the best season in their short history.
I was in awe of Gil. And then, of course, we went to spring training in '68, and he just didn't know the players. He didn't know what he had. And he was teaching in '68 and evaluating.
I came over the first year. '68 was the first year for Gil from Washington. A.G. and Al Weiss and myself came from the White Sox team. And so we were all new to know each other. But then I found out in just a short period of time, he's going to use you somewhere in the game. Be ready. And he did that with the veterans. He did it with the rookies. He instilled confidence in the rookies. He was great. He was probably the greatest manager that I played for.
I think in 1968 he had to try and weed out people that he felt wasn't going to fit into the organization. You know, there were a lot of still cast-offs of guys that we were acquiring, trying to fill in pieces of the puzzle. And of course, you know, he evaluated his own players. Gil was his own man, a very strict disciplinarian. He had his own set of rules, one set of rules for the whole team, and he wanted you to play the game his way. And you know, with the Mets, when you're on a bad ball club, and I was part of a bad ball club for 7 years, you know, losing is contagious just like winning is. And you develop bad habits, and you've got to change that if you're trying to rebuild, and he did.
Gil Hodges was not able to finish the season on the Mets bench. On September 24th in Atlanta, Hodges suffered a mild heart attack. He spent the remainder of the 1968 season and that winter regaining his health and was ready again to lead the club in the spring of 1969. Many experts agreed that the Mets could become legitimate contenders in perhaps 2 or 3 years. As the 1969 season approached, no one had any idea whatsoever that the amazing Mets would astound the nation. It was Gil Hodges who molded the Mets into champions.
Gil was always a guy that had a strong hand and a strong voice and meant what he said. Was a great leader, and everyone respected him a great deal.
Gil was amazing, I guess. It never ceased to amaze me that there was nothing that he didn't know was going on.
And we had several meetings where Gil, he does not tolerate mental mistakes. And we would know who messed up the night before, and the next day at practice, and batting practice and field and everything, you'd see Gil, he'd hit fungos to the infielders, then he would walk down third base with a fungo stick in his hand, and we knew who messed up. If it was a second baseman or a shortstop or whomever, he would work his way around. I said, just watch him. And sure enough, he worked around to the guy that's, pardon the expression, messed up the night before, and you knew what was going on.
He didn't miss many tricks. He was on top of it. If you watched Hodges play cribbage in the clubhouse, he was like a machine. He was like a computer. He was like IBM mainframe, you know what I mean? I mean, he'd get his cards and he'd discard it faster, add it up total. I mean, his brain worked so well and so quickly and so accurately, man. It was, you know, I mean, it was amazing to watch. You respected it, and you felt like, you know, this guy's on top of his game.
Gil was always a very positive guy, and at the same time he was teaching. He was getting into people's heads, and I think probably the summation at the end of people's careers with the handling of Gil Hodges was that he made us better players. We were talented players, but it's much more than that. We were smarter players, more professional players.
When Gil came over in '68, of course, nobody in our ball club really knew about him, but he was a pillar of strength. You knew who was in charge. You knew what your role was. You knew what the rules were. And Gil was the kind of guy that just demanded respect immediately, and you followed that. He had a profound effect on the ball club. From the standpoint of the effort that was on the field was an absolute professional effort every time you went out there. For me personally, he is the one individual that taught me more about being a professional, about being a professional on the field and how I go about my trade than anybody else that I was ever associated with.
The reason for the New York Mets' success in 1969 certainly has been a great team effort, I think. I believe this is the best team effort of any ball club I've ever seen. Everyone on the ball club contributed a great deal to the success of the Mets.
The Mets' drive to the 1969 World Championship is often referred to as the miracle of '69, as if their victory were the result of some divine intervention, or perhaps a fluke. Neither is true. The Mets won the championship on steady and fundamentally sound team play, and on overwhelmingly strong pitching. The 1969 Mets were a team built on pitching and defense. The starting pitching included southpaw Jerry Koosman, Hall of Famer Nolan Ryan, of veteran Al Weiss, and youngster Ken Boswell. Third base was also a position shared by two men. Veteran Ed Charles, known to his teammates as the Glider for his smooth style, and youngster Wayne Garrett. Behind the plate was the best defensive catcher in the league, the fiery Jerry Gowdy. Left fielder Cleon Jones led the league in hitting for most of the 1969 season. In center field, Cleon's boyhood friend Tommy Agee had a career year and was brilliant defensively. In right field, Hodges platooned right-handed hitting Ron Swoboda and left-handed swinging Art Shamsky, both players being integral parts of the club's success. On paper, The Mets were not a dominant team, but the fact is they believed in themselves. As they began to win, their confidence grew stronger. And of course, they had the key ingredient to any successful ball club. They had pitching. Great pitching. They also had a great manager in Gil Hodges. The '69 Mets were certainly not the most talented team, but Hodges used the entire squad, maximizing each man's strengths and minimizing his weaknesses. And under his platoon system, every member of the team made a major contribution to the club's triumph.
This was a team. You know, the team effort is overused in a lot of instances. Not in this. You can't put enough emphasis on team effort. We were always together in spring training. Every night, a group of players got together and barbecued or went out to eat or something somewhere. But it was never the same group. There was always different people in those groups. And that showed that we were a team.
The members of the club got along very well with each other. On some championship teams, this element is not important. But on the 1969 Mets, it was one of the keys to their rise. For a young ball club to win, it must have confidence in itself, a feeling that they are a match for any team and can handle any situation that arises in a ball game. As a manager, Gil Hodges worked hard to instill this confidence in his young players. The 1969 season was the first year in which each league was divided into two divisions. In the Eastern Division of the National League, the powerful Chicago Cubs, managed by Leo DeRocha, and with superstars such as Ernie Banks, Ron Santo, and Billy Williams, looked like the overwhelming favorites. However, in spring training of 1969, many of the young Mets honestly felt that with their strong pitching, they had a shot at beating the Cubs.
I felt that we were going to win, and during spring training, I made the statement, and Jack Lang wrote it up in the Sporting News, that I said that I felt we had a great chance to win if we got somebody that could drive in a few runs for us.
The Mets started the season in their usual fashion by losing 11-10 to the expansion Montreal Expos on opening day. But by May 21st, the Mets had an 18-18 record. It was the latest point in any season that the club had reached the 500 plateau. The press made a big deal of the Mets reaching 500, but pitcher Tom Seaver told everyone that it was only the beginning. After reaching 500, the Mets lost 5 games in a row, and this put them 9 games behind the first-place Cubs. Then, the magic began to happen. On May 28th, the Mets beat the Padres 1-0. It was the beginning of an 11-game winning streak, the longest in club history. The streak left them 7 games behind the Cubs. It seemed the only thing the Mets were missing was a bona fide power hitter in the middle of their lineup, someone who could turn a game around with one swing. General manager Johnny Murphy filled this void on June 15th when he acquired veteran slugger Don Clendenin. Clink, as he was known to his teammates, became a major part of the club's success and a team leader.
When I first got here on the trade deadline, Gil called me in his office after I'd met some of the guys and said that he had a role for me to fill, and he wanted me to be a leader. He also wanted me to drive in some runs and keep the team loose. And it was kind of easy to be a leader because the first 16 games I played in, I drove in the winning or the tying run. So all the other guys started to follow. And so I said I was going to lead by performance.
We thought we were one play away because we were a little bit weak on left-handed pitching. Getting Clendenin, we thought would make us a stronger ball club against left-handers. And of course, when we obtained Don Clendenin, we thought we were a good ball club. But we never thought we were the world's champion at that caliber ball club at that particular time because we hadn't shown that on the field.
The real test for the upstart Mets came in early July when they faced the Cubs in a 3-game series at Shea Stadium. Most experts felt the young Mets didn't have a chance in the series and would be a bundle of nerves, while the veteran Cubs would be composed and ready for the challenge. In reality, the exact opposite was true. The Mets weren't supposed to be there in the first place. They were calm and composed because they had nothing to lose. The Cubs, on the other hand, were the favorites. They felt the pressure to win. In this, the most important series in Mets history up to that point, the Mets took 2 of 3 games and sent the Cubs home losers. The amazing Mets were now only 4 games out of first place. In the second game of that series, pitcher Tom Seaver threw 8 1/3 perfect innings before Cub rookie Jimmy Qualls lined a single to center field, ruining the perfect game. Still, by taking 2 of 3, the young Mets showed they were for real.
The ball fell in, and I think there was a moment of composure, and said, go back and go to work, scores 4-0, let's not lose the ball game. That was always the priority. But there was somewhat of a sense of disappointment when the ball fell in. In the long run, it's turned out to be the imperfect game has actually become a bigger deal than if had I just pitched another perfect game. The imperfect game, for some reason, has a different kind of ring to it than just another perfect game. It was a beautiful night.
Did you ever run track? Well, when you're out in front, you start looking over your shoulder to see who's gaining, you're in trouble, you know. And DeRocha has always been one that a superstitious ball player and always panics. And when I first got there, Cleon and all the guys were talking about next year they'd be in contention. And we were comfortably in second place when I arrived. And they were, even though we were 11.5 games out, personally, I didn't think we could catch the Cubs. You know, with the likes of Ernie Banks, Billy Williams, Sandho, Kessinger, and all those kind of guys. But after I saw them sputtering, you know, and we were applying pressure, then I realized that we had a chance and we would do it. And I kept preaching to the guys, we can do it now.
The Mets' confidence grew stronger each time they beat the Cubs. By the All-Star break, the New York Mets stood only 4.5 games behind the first-place Cubs. With only 2 months left in the season, the Mets were unbelievably, wonderfully, still in the race for the Eastern Division title. Still, in the back of every Mets fan's mind was the nagging thought that the Mets might be playing over their heads. Maybe they were just a flash in the pan. Maybe the whole thing was just a fluke. This seemed to be the case when, shortly after the All-Star break, the Mets went into a tailspin, losing 12 of 21 games between July 14th and August 13th, falling 9.5 games behind Chicago. The low point came on July 30th in the second game of a doubleheader against the Astros. In the midst of a 10-run Astro rally, left fielder Cleon Jones didn't seem to hustle after a double in left field. Gil Hodges called timeout and then walked all the way out to left field to take Jones out of the game.
Gil came out on the field. I thought he was going to take the pitch out because we were playing Houston and it'd been raining and it was wet and we was getting our tails kicked. I mean, they was sticking it to us. And when he passed the pitcher's mound, I thought he was going to talk to Buddy Harrelson or someone, you know. And when he passed Buddy, I turned, looked back to the bullpen to see what was happening behind me. And there was nothing happening behind me. So I said, Buddy, I said, I guess he's coming to get me, you know. And so he walked out to me and he says, you know, how you doing? He said, I don't like the way you went at that last ball. I said, what's going on? I said, well, Gil, all you have to do is look down. I said, you'll know the reason I went at the ball the way I did. And he looked down, and his feet was on the water, my feet was on the water. And he said, well, that's right. He said, you've got a bad ankle anyway. He said, well, you know, why don't you just come on out of the game, you know.
On August 13th, the Mets lost to the Houston Astros 8-2, which completed a 3-game sweep by Houston. The Mets fell to third place and seemingly out of the race. Gil Hodges had had enough. When the team got back to New York, Hodges closed the clubhouse doors and gave hell to his team.
He didn't do that too often. You're supposed to remember that. But his veins in his neck really got big as my finger. You know, he was livid. You know, but I think he got his point across. He got everybody's attention.
Hodges' tirade turned his team around. In the final month and a half of the season, the Mets reeled off winning streaks of 6, 9, and 10 games and won 39 of their last 48 games. Meanwhile, the Cubs were in a tailspin. On September 8th, the Chicago Cubs came into Shea Stadium for a 2-game series against the Mets. The Mets were only 2.5 games out of first place. By this time, it was open warfare between the young Mets and the veteran Cubs. Early in the game, Cub hurler Bill Hand brushed back Tommy Agee with a high inside pitch. The Mets' Jerry Koosman retaliated by nailing the Cubs' captain Ron Santo. In the 6th inning of that game, an ominous omen appeared for the Cubs when a black cat came out from under the stands, then stopped in front of the Cub dugout. The Mets won that first game behind the superb pitching of Jerry Koosman, who struck out 13 Cub hitters. The Mets took the second game as well, leaving them only 1/2 game behind the fading Cubs.
We played the Cubs. We had the incident with the cat running out. I mean, the black cat running in front of Leo DeRocher's dugout in Shea Stadium is like, okay, cue the cat. You know what I mean? Like it came from Central Casting. You know, like this guy had a SAG card. This cat. I mean, he played this part. And I mean, Leo's going crazy. And these games are tight. These games are down to a run here, a play there, a call here, and we're winning them. And we're winning them, and all the breaks are going our way. And here comes a black cat running in front of their dugout to affirm the fact that something else is working for us, okay? Some other force is in play here, you know?
On September 10th, the New York Mets moved into first place, never to move out. Then, on September 24th, a year to the day that Gil Hodges had suffered his heart attack, the Mets clinched the Eastern Division title. Rookie Gary Gentry pitched a 6-0 shutout over the Cardinals. It capped off a magical regular season. The Mets finished the season with 100 wins against 62 losses. During the Mets' late summer drive to the top, they captured the heart of the nation. It was astounding, fantastic, amazing. People who were never interested in baseball were suddenly Mets fans. The Mets had become a national team. With each step the team took toward the top, their national popularity grew. On September 5th, nearly 3 weeks before they clinched the division title, they were featured on the cover of Time magazine. In over 6 decades of publication to that point, through more than 3,000 issues, baseball had been the subject of Time's cover only 36 times, and each of those covers featured an individual player. The 1969 Mets were the only team in baseball history ever to appear on the cover of Time, and they did so before they'd won anything. After winning the Eastern Division title, the Mets recorded an album for Buddha Records. It featured inspirational-type songs performed by the members of the team. It was very possibly the worst singing ever put on vinyl in the history of the music business. The record sold over 50,000 copies. By the time the Mets stood ready to meet the Western Division champion Atlanta Braves for the pennant, they had truly become America's team. Most baseball experts felt that in order for the Mets to beat the Braves, the club's strong pitching would have to silence the bats of the Braves sluggers such as Rico Carty, Orlando Cepeda, and the great Henry Aaron. But when the best-of-5 series started, for the first time all season, the team's pitching failed. It didn't matter, however, because the Mets' offense took up the slack and scored 27 runs in 3 games, and the Mets swept the series to take the National League pennant. The Braves' pitching was primarily right-handed, so it was the Mets' left-handed hitting platoon of third baseman Wayne Garrett, first baseman Ed Kranepool, right fielder Art Shamsky, and second baseman Ken Boswell that did most of the damage.
Interesting enough, that's one of the few times all year that I saw our pitching staff get hit hard. If you remember correctly, we beat a really strong Atlanta team. Didn't have great pitching, but a lineup that was phenomenal. Felipe Alou, Orlando Cepeda, Rico Carty, Henry Aaron. Aaron, in fact, hit a home run all 3 games. Hit a home run in the 3 games that we beat him. We, collectively, as the left-handed platoon, really took over and scored a lot of runs. I had 7 hits in 3 games, 3 the first 2 and then 1 in the 3rd game. When you talk about that team and the year as a whole, a lot of it's people talk about the season, and they jump right into the World Series. And in a way, we kind of nullify what the left-hand batters did to take up some of the slack when the pitching went bad for a few games.
The Mets were the National League champions. Only a little over 2 months before, Neil Armstrong had walked on the moon. But somehow, that paled in comparison to the Mets winning the National League pennant. It was one of the most remarkable and exciting years in the history of our national game. A year when the Miracle Mets brought the entire nation to its feet cheering with their drive to the World Championship. Now, HermanSports.com is proud to present the official film about that unforgettable year. The greatest season, the 1969 World Champion New York Mets. This video features never-before-seen footage from that season, as well as interviews with Miracle Mets Tom Seaver, Cleon Jones, Ron Swoboda, Jerry Koosman, and many, many more. This collector's edition video is yours for only $14.95 plus shipping and handling. Call the toll-free number on your screen to order or visit our website at HermanSports.com. All major credit cards are accepted. This video is a must for all serious baseball collectors. Relive one of the most exciting years in baseball history. The greatest season, the 1969 World Champion New York Mets. The Mets now faced Earl Weaver's powerful Baltimore Orioles in the World Series. The experts predicted the Mets would have no chance against the Orioles, whom many considered one of the best teams in baseball history. Their lineup featured Frank Robinson, Brooks Robinson, Boog Powell, Paul Blair, and the slick-fielding Mark Belanger at shortstop. Their pitching was equal to that of the Mets. The young Mets, however, believed in themselves.
We were not intimidated by them. A lot of people were. We were not intimidated by them, and we felt that we belonged on the field with them and we could play with them.
We didn't feel like that they were going to walk all over us. We knew that because we had one of our guys said we're going to beat them 4 in a row. So what are you going to do?
The series opened in Baltimore, and in the first inning, leadoff man Don Buford homered off Mets starter Tom Seaver. The Orioles won the game by the score of 4-1 behind the pitching of Mike Cuellar. It looked as if the experts were right and the Mets had finally come to an end. But inside the Mets clubhouse, a feeling of confidence grew.
I just recently saw Jim Palmer, and I said, you know, you guys were a classy team, because I never heard, other than Buford popping off in the first inning. And I could see that. He was excited. He hit a home run off a Seaver. It's a first inning. You know, and he rounded second base, hit second base, and, you know, I'm going up, darn, you know, home run first inning. And he said, you guys ain't seen nothing yet. And, you know, it didn't make me mad. I just said, first inning, first game, and they haven't seen us either.
In Game 2 of the series, still in Baltimore, southpaw Jerry Koosman held the Orioles hitless for 6 innings. For the Mets, the heroes were starting to emerge. First baseman Don Clendenin hit his first home run of the series to give the Mets the early lead. With the score tied at 1 in the top of the 9th, Mets third baseman Ed Charles singled, and catcher Jerry Grody moved him to third on a hit and run. The next batter, light-hitting infielder Al Weiss, followed with a single, and the Mets took a 2-1 lead into the 9th. Koosman got the first 2 Oriole hitters, but then walked the next 2. Hodges brought in veteran reliever Taylor to face Brooks Robinson. Robinson sent a smash to third baseman Ed Charles, who played the difficult hop and got Robinson at first. The series was tied at a game apiece.
I knew Brooks Robinson was a slow runner, so I knew I had plenty of time. So when I made my break to third base, I saw I couldn't beat the runner to the bag, so I just checked off and went to first. So actually just a routine play.
The series moved back to New York, and rookie Gary Gentry started for the Mets against Jim Palmer. Center fielder Tommy Agee, who had been hitless in the first 2 games, led off the game with a home run. Rookie Gentry pitched effectively through 6 innings and even helped his own cause with a 2-run double in the second inning. In the fourth inning, with the Mets leading 3-0, Oriole catcher Elrod Hendricks came to the plate with 2 outs and runners on first and second. Hendricks drove a Gentry pitch deep to the gap in left center. It looked like a sure double. Then, coming out of nowhere and running at top speed, center fielder Tommy Agee made a spectacular backhand grab on the warning track to save 2 runs and crush a possible Baltimore rally.
The first one, I never thought I was going to get close to it. The first one. You know who just, I mean, the good Lord just held that ball up until I got there, because that ball was, I mean, it was right in the middle of the gap, and I was in right center. I was in right center field on that ball. And I took off running at the ball, and I just took off, ran as hard as I could. But I never looked at the ball. When I started running, I never looked at the ball until I got to the fence. And when I looked up, there it was. I mean, looking right at me, you know. All I had to do was catch it. You know, I had to backhand it, but that was no problem. I had to put it down and backhand it. But I had no concern for the fence. I didn't care. I was going to run right through that fence. I didn't care about the fence. I mean, that's how I felt during that game.
In the 6th inning, after getting the first 2 batters, Gentry walked 3 Orioles in a row to load the bases, with Baltimore center fielder Paul Blair coming to the plate. Hodges pulled Gentry and brought in another rookie, Nolan Ryan. On Ryan's 3rd pitch, Blair drove a fastball into the gap in right center, and Tommy Agee was off and running again. This time, he made another phenomenal catch, making a diving stab on the right field warning track. It saved 3 runs and crushed the Baltimore Orioles.
So when the one hit the right center, when it was hit, I knew I had it. But then, as I got closer to it, it started to like get away from me, you know, and I had to dive at the last minute to catch it, you know. But listen, I'm glad I didn't, because it turned out to be 2 great catches.
The 3rd game of the World Series, it was tied 1-1. The left-handers were so pumped up after, remember, they played in the playoffs. The right-handers were probably a little rusty starting the World Series. The left-handers knew we were going to beat it. I didn't care about Palmer. We had plenty of guys in the National League throw as hard as Jim Palmer, Hall of Famer, but we faced plenty of right-handed Hall of Famers in the National League. So the left-handers beat on them pretty good, and we knew we were going to score some runs, so all we had to do was get back to Shea Stadium, and we didn't like it in Baltimore, didn't want to go back to Baltimore, and we wanted to beat them in New York, and we did.
The Mets' 5-3 victory in Game 3 put them up 2-1. Game 4 pitted ace Tom Seaver against Mike Cuellar. In the 2nd inning of this game, first baseman Don Clendenin hit his 2nd home run of the series, giving the Mets a 1-0 lead. Seaver held the Orioles scoreless until the 9th. In the 9th, Frank Robinson singled with 1 out and moved to 3rd on Boog Powell's single. The dangerous Brooks Robinson came to the plate. Robinson hit a sinking line drive to right field. Right fielder Ron Swoboda came charging in. He dove, slid along the grass, and amazingly, unbelievably, made one of the most spectacular catches in World Series history. Robinson tagged up from 3rd and scored to tie the game, but Swoboda's catch stopped the go-ahead run from scoring.
There's a long answer and a short answer here. You know, the short answer is I wasn't thinking about anything. I mean, we you know, we're 30 years later now, and I'm thinking, you know, Cleon Jones told me one time, he said, you know, even a blind hog will find an acorn once in a while. And I said, well, you know, if you play 9 years of Major League Baseball, you really ought to have at least 10 seconds of highlight film, and that's mine, okay? And you know, that defines me. It's defined my life. I mean, you know, I haven't lived off it, but I've made money off it. I've made a living, you know, relating back to that catch. I mean, it is Swoboda to catch, you know, and whatever I was as a ball player, which was fairly average, that catch was, for me, I mean, a chance to do something that, you know, was artistic, graceful, and, you know, poetic.
In the bottom of the 10th, catcher Jerry Gowdy led off with a short pop-up to left field. It should have been the first out of the inning, but Oriole left fielder Don Buford lost it in the sun, and Gowdy pulled into 2nd with a double. Hodges pinch ran the speedy Rod Gaspar for Gowdy. Al Weiss followed with a walk, and with Tom Seaver due up, Hodges pinch hit backup catcher J.C. Martin for Seaver against Baltimore reliever Pete Reichert. Martin's orders were to lay down a bunt to move the winning run to 3rd.
I bunted the ball down first baseline. It was a good bunt. and Pete Rickard came in, being left-handed. He and the catcher both got to the ball about the same time. Elrod Hendricks was the catcher. And so Pete Rickard took the ball, and being left-handed, had to turn his back all the way to first base and throw. And when he did, the ball tailed, and I was running down the line, and it hit me on the left wrist, ricocheted between first and second. Not only did the runner get to third, he scored, and we won the ball game.
Jerry Koosman started Game 5 for the Mets against Baltimore's Dave McNally. The Orioles jumped off to a 3-0 lead on a 2-run homer by McNally and a solo shot by Frank Robinson. In the 6th inning, McNally threw a curveball in the dirt near Cleon's feet. He jumped to avoid it, and the ball rolled into the Mets dugout. Jones claimed the ball had hit him. The umpire had called it a ball. Hodges then called timeout and walked over to the home plate umpire. There was a spot of shoe polish on the ball. The call was reversed, and Jones was awarded first base.
Cleon wanted to hit. Cleon's having the greatest year of his career. I think at one time he was hitting 360. He had to be hitting 340 something or 350. And the ball hit him on the foot. You know, I looked down and he was kind of hopping on his foot like that, and the ball scurried over to the side. And I told him, I said, hey, you know, they shot our shoes every night, every day. I said, so hit him on the shoe like he claims. I said, have your shoe polish on it. You know, I said, look at the damn ball. It's like that. I said, no, if it has shoe polish on it, I said, don't take a PhD to realize the hit him on his foot.
When the umpire came over and asked him about that ball in the World Series, and he told the umpire, said, well, this ball hit Cleon's foot. And he had so much respect for him, so Gil Hodges wouldn't lie. He said, go to first base, you know.
When the call was reversed, Oriole manager Earl Weaver came storming out of the dugout, but to no avail. Pitcher McNally started to argue with the umpire, but Don Clendenin, the on-deck hitter, told McNally to shut up and go pitch. McNally pitched, and Clendenin blasted a 2-run homer, his 3rd round tripper of the series, to bring the Mets within a run. Then, in the bottom of the 7th, Mets second baseman Al Weiss came to the plate. To that point in his 8-year big league career, Weiss had hit a total of 6 home runs. Weiss, however, was hitting over 400 in the series, and to everyone's amazement, he blasted a McNally pitch over the left field wall to tie the game. It was a shot that killed the Orioles.
Al Weiss, who I thought should have been the MVP, because this guy, man, he was just sensational. I think he had hit 4 home runs that year, first time in his whole career. You know, and then he tied it up, and then you could see, if you look back at the reel, at the video, when Al Weiss hit his home run, Brooks Robinson walked back to third base and dropped his head. And, I mean, that's a defeater's attitude. You know? We can't beat these guys.
In the bottom of the 8th, the Mets scored 2 runs on doubles by Cleon Jones and Ron Swoboda, and an error by Orioles first baseman Boog Powell. They went into the 9th with a 5-3 lead. Jerry Koosman walked Frank Robinson to lead off the inning, but then got Powell to ground into a forced play for the first out. Brooks Robinson flied out for the second out. Baltimore second baseman Davy Johnson stepped to the plate with a runner on. He lofted a deep fly ball to left field. At first, it seemed like it might go out and tie the game. Cleon Jones got under it and made the catch, dropping to one knee as he did so. The 1969 New York Mets were champions of the world.
I remember it so well. As each out was conquered, the fans were getting louder and louder. And so when Davy Johnson hit that fly ball to Cleon Jones for the last out, you couldn't hear the crack of the bat. And as outfielders, infielders, pitchers know, it's not only just where the pitch is, but it's the sound of the bat that kind of tells you how well the ball was hit. Well, I couldn't hear that. And so when he first hit it, I thought, oh my gosh, he hit a home run, which would have tied the game. And so my heart might have stopped there for a few seconds until I saw Cleon go back and then kind of come in a little bit and catch the ball on the edge of the grass.
There's no words to describe what I felt at that particular time, and the ball stayed up there so long I'm praying, you know, come on down, baby, come on down, baby, come on down, baby. It seemed like it lasted for an hour.
You know, the moment you become world champions, it's almost impossible to describe. One, because anybody who ever plays this game, there's always a little part of your heart in which lies the little boy in you, the little boy that played Little League Baseball and Babe Ruth League Baseball. It's always going to be a part of you. And part of that piece of your heart is dreaming about becoming a world champion. And we all grew up watching these world champions and celebrating in the locker room and saying, we are the world champions of baseball, and you win a World Series ring, etc. And it's a dream. And that part, one of the great things is that part never leaves you. And all of a sudden, it was going to be true. We were world champions, and it was never going to change. It was always going to be a piece of history, and it was like a dream come true.
We were flying onto the field. We jumped up and down in celebration, and afterwards, some of the guys really had a tremendous time. I mean, all the frustrations were let out, you know, in that 30 seconds when Cleon caught the ball. It was over with. And then the winter really flew by because we celebrated. There is no place to play like New York. It is the greatest sports town around, bar none. The fans know the game. They enjoy the game. They celebrate with you. They're still celebrating with the '69 Mets 30 years later. I can walk down Manhattan, any street, and everyone was at Shea Stadium. And I'll tell you, it's a tremendous feeling 30 years later. Here we go again, so let's go out and celebrate.
The ticker tape parade New York City gave its world champions on October 20th, 1969, was, to that point, the largest and wildest in the city's history. Joyous fans dumped over 1,200 tons of paper on the Mets motorcade.
That street is presently 3400 block, Bedford Avenue, Brooklyn, and today it becomes Gil Hodges Place.
Thank you, Mayor Lindsay, and I would just like to express my thanks to Mayor Lindsay and all his staff and all of you wonderful people here in New York City, and certainly on behalf of the Mets, the players, I'm just happy and proud to be their manager, and all of us are just thrilled at the day. And I might add in closing just that all of us stay over here. Don't go to Gil Hodges Place. Thank you.
Indeed, winning the World Series turned around the fortunes of the Mets franchise. They were no longer the lovable losers of the past. They were champions, and in the following years, contenders. In 1970 and 1971, the Mets started each season with a legitimate shot at winning the pennant. In both seasons, they were in the pennant race until the final weeks. They reported to spring training in 1972, ready for another run at the title. But on April 1st of that year, the Players Union called the first strike in its history, and all baseball operations came to a grinding halt. The Mets were in West Palm Beach at the time. The next day, Easter Sunday, manager Gil Hodges played golf with his coaches. After they finished, Coach Joe Pignatano asked Hodges what time they were meeting for dinner. Hodges said about 7:30. A split second later, a massive heart attack struck Hodges and he collapsed to the pavement. Hodges was rushed to the hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 5:25 p.m. He was 2 days short of his 48th birthday.
Well, you know, I was with the Yankees when that happened, and you know, Gil and I had some difficulties with one another, and it really was all immaturity on my part. I felt like he leaned on me a little hard, and you know, maybe I thought I was too important, you know, and I allowed that to get between us, which was all my fault. You know, he was totally on the right ground, and I was totally out of line. And you know, I think we had straightened that out by then, but there were, you know, there was around the people around Gil a sense that there were hard feelings between us. But I think that was over. The shock of being on the Yankees, and I flew back on the plane with his body from Fort Lauderdale. Actually, we flew out of West Palm Beach, but I was with the Yankees when I heard that, and it was, you know, it felt like if you were in, like, California and one of those big redwood trees fell down, when you heard that Gil Hodges keeled over and died of a heart attack, you had the same sense that one of those big giant sequoias fell over, because that's how solid you thought he was as a guy. I mean, he had a great, incredible physical presence to go along with all the other aspects of Gil Hodges. Now, I know he'd had some heart problems, but you just think, no problem, he survived that, and that it wasn't, you know, something like that wasn't going to happen to Gil. It was an incredible shock, and we flew back on the plane with the body, and when they took his body off the plane, I went outside the plane just looking at it like, you know, you're 20, you know, what am I, 27, 20, you know, 28. I'm looking at it, and it's like, this is unbelievable, you know, and this is the way he was loved in New York. This was going to be a sad day, and it was all of that.
The 1969 season stands as a tribute to Gil Hodges. Never before in baseball history, and perhaps never again, will one team be as popular with all of America as were the 1969 Mets. They struck a common chord in all our hearts. The 69 Mets were the team of the common man, a team of youngsters and veterans, of black and white, of city boys and farm kids, of men from all sections of the nation who came together as one to give America a shining moment of victory and hope at the end of a decade of social unrest and upheaval that had angered and polarized the nation. Unselfish, determined, confident, courageous, and skilled are all words that describe the 1969 Mets, and they are also words that describe Gil Hodges. Truly, this team was an extension of Gil Hodges as a man and as an athlete. The 1969 Mets were not a powerhouse team led by superstars, as many championship clubs are. Rather, they were a group of young men who, with a few exceptions, were of mostly average abilities. Yet each did his part, each performed to the very limits of his talent, and sometimes beyond. They believed in themselves when nobody else did, and together they became champions of the world.
You've got time before the first pitch of the Subway Series, so stick around. Coming up, it's the story of the most winning team in the